How are you folks in all parts of the world? My name is Marshall Commander. I hope you're all fantastic in all parts of the world. Yes, welcome. I'm waiting for Sankara to come in. Comrade Sankara to come in. We are having a topic today talking about tribalism. Yes, how are you folks in all parts of the world? I can see Sankara is in the house now. Mr. Sankara is coming live. We'll be discussing about tribalism in our country. Tribalism. What is tribalism? Sankara is going to tell us what tribalism is. Why is it that every time when I go to a party, I get a lot of people talking about me because of my language? Why is it so? So today we are discussing about tribalism. Today we are talking about tribalism, especially in our countries, a country called Zimbabwe. There are so many people who think that there is only two languages in Zimbabwe, two tribes in Zimbabwe. They think it's Shona and Ndebele. But Sankara is going to explain this to us. He's going to tell us what is tribalism, why do we hate one another, why there is too much eat, divide and rule. And that's what we'll be discussing about. Those people who want to join in, you are welcome as well. We are going to give you a number to call in. I am boiling. I don't know why I am boiling so much. But yes, that is our topic for today. Tribalism. Please feel free, share the video with your friends. Right, let me look if I can get Mr. Sankara live to come and join us. Is ready there. Mr. Sankara, I'm culture in and out. Comrade Sankara, pin it from your side, Mr. Sankara. Connected failed. Let me try him again, Comrade Sankara. Maybe it's not ready yet. Mr. Sankara will be coming in live. Yes, I'm banning. Why am I banning? Why is it I'm banning? Right. Mr. Sankara, all is yours now. I'm waiting to decline. Right, I wait for Mr. Sankara to again. Let's play this song again. Right, Sankara shared the video. Let me play this song once again. Yourself not interested in this topic, you are not a proper Zimbabwean. Once you see yourself not interested in this topic, you are not from Zimbabwe. There must be a problem with you, because this problem today we need to finish. We need to finish it about the tribalism of Zimbabwe. So if you see yourself today running away from such a topic, you are actually a tribalist yourself, because this is a topic which we want to finish our tribalism back home. So I'm waiting for Comrade Sankara to come in today and talk to us about tribalism. Why is it there are some people who can actually prefer to make someone get deported from South Africa? You choose your fellow countrymen to be deported because you don't like him, because he speaks Shona, because he speaks Ndebele. How pathetic is it? Let's iron the reasons why are we so divided. Yes, Ambrose Mlilo, how are you? Right, while I'm waiting for Comrade Sankara to come in, let me just say hello to Zeti Dube Gifty Moliseng. Let me say hello to Cindy Mlojo. Let me say hello to To Moyo. Let me say hello to Adi Mada, how are you? I want to say hello to Lee. Oh, Lizzie. Carlos Ngube, how are you? I want to say hello to Puti Van Proofrien. I want to say hello to Comrade Sankara is here, our guest. Nelito Jokam, how are you? Elfie Moyo, how are you? Kolani Ngube, how are you? Nhlanhla ngunjani mpofu mpana chido wakudai How are you? Mavis Ndlovumo Migogo, how are you? Zakeo Mabasa, how are you? Kwate Ulibile, how are you? Right, Sankara is ready now. Let me bring Usankara Lapana. Let me bring Mr. Sankara live in the studio. Mr. Sankara, get ready for Mr. Sankara, guys. Once you see yourself hating such a topic, then you are a tribalist yourself. If you see yourself not interested in a topic which can build you, a topic which can say, right, Phillips Wanda, kurukudiwa abantu kufuneka abantu ecompanyini abangu-7 ngicela ubiye labantu phela abantu abangu-7 but you say this one I'm not taking him because he speaks Shona. Right, today we want to eye on this. When we finish this topic, we want to be a Zimbabwean citizen anondanana abathandanayo. Hayikhona ukuthi bona uthi uthiwa umuntu ukhuluma ulimi wathi nqa. You are a tribalist if you don't want to share this topic today, because this is the topic we need to eye on our issues in Zimbabwe. That's why political leaders declined Mr. Sankara. I don't know why. Put your phone on the landscape, Mr. Sankara. Put your phone on landscape, my brother. My fellow brothers and sisters from Zimbabwe, I'm not talking about any other country, I'm talking about Zimbabwe. Why do we hate one another? Why do you come to a situation whereby we say, I don't talk to this guy because he's from Mashonaland. I don't talk to this guy because he's from Masringo. I don't go talk to... So, Comrade Sankara, put your phone on landscape. We want you. He is ready now. Right, I'm accepting him. Sankara is not a problem. Phone in. You have a won't be accepted. Right, Mr. Sankara is edit. He pick it from that side, Mr. Sankara Mpana unjani.
Sabona Comrade Philip.
Unjani Mr. Sankara.
Unjani span. Ngispile leta unjani.
Ngiyapila. First and foremost, guys, I kindly ask everybody who is watching, don't phone me on this line. I will give you the number to phone. Don't phone me on this line. We have got Frizila lapana, Mrs. Bekufonela already. Yeah, bekufonela from Sankara. Best bekufonela.
Yeah, so I just told them
yes, please, can you please stop phoning? I don't know why is it want to bangabona ususenza something they want to phone you, whether we see you live. Mr. Sankara, how is things, my brother?
I know I'm strong. How is it over that side?
It's fine, Mr. Sankara. So what we want today, Mr. Sankara, is we want to eye on this thing called tribalism. And first and foremost, ngicela ubingelele abantu in a language you want to, is whether you use any language. I know you speak both languages, same as me. Say, greet them. We want to greet every Zimbabwean today. We are talking to Zimbabweans.
Ekuqaleni ngiyalibingelela lonke bantwana bakantu ndinothi masora seko nayi bana bantu ngilibingelela lonke mahlaba ezulu nani mthwakazo ndlela zimhlophe. I greet you all in the name of Untu and in the name of God. My name is Kek Sankara Vundla. Isibongo abalandeli abajayele ukulandela ihlelo lami liyakwazi izinto zezibongo mina ngizithanda kakhulu. Ngathi ke ngizintroduce igama ngoKek Sankara. Yimina isilile nkosi elomlomo ongagcwalelwa ngumfula, umqali wesiziba, the young commander, the walking encyclopedia. Yimina okwacheba uchebe ongakwamakhekhe. Yimina unkosiphathise, iphathisile inkosi, iphathise ngaphi, iphathise kongayaza, iphathise emavendeni, iphathise konsingo. Young commander, ngiyalibulisa lonke. I greet you all. Good evening, children do and twa. Thank you for having me here. I greet you all Zimbabweans, I greet you all Africans and people of the soil. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much, Mpana. Izidemo zakho ziyesabisa Mpana kantu. Yes, right, Mr. Sankara. You are my young brother. We work together. We do a lot of. What is tribalism, my brother?
I think we should ask ourselves. I think we should go back to our history, where we come from, and also just that word tribalism by itself. It's a word that I don't think we should be using in this day and age. For those who are woke, abantu abathanduthi they are woke, or abantu who are literate, or ngathi literate food, abantu abalengqondo you will know that we as Africans, we never had tribes. That's the first thing. A tribe, especially in Southern Africa. There's no such thing as a tribe. So city tribalism, tribalism yona libala lesilungu nje elasetshenziswa ukuseparate abantu based on languages. Njengoba ngikuzwe khathesi usithi ungafika ephathini abantu bangakuzwa ukhuluma ulimi lwesindebele bakuzonde kumbe bakuzwa ukhuluma ulimi lwesindebele town bese bekureport emapholiseni bethi nantani kwere kumbe ukhuluma ilanguage ulimi lwesishona bese bengafuni ukuthi ba-associate ngakho. You are not associating that person because of ukuthi uvela ngaphi kumbe ungubani. It's just because of the language. The language has become something that you have pigeoned somebody. Ikanti ungathola ukuthi umuntu lowo yena ukhuluma isishona kodwa ngokukhumalo ukuthi nje wazalwa wakhulela eHarare. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
So we've already construed that concept, because in Africa, I would like to go back. We as Africans, we never had tribes. Tribes, I would say, let me put it this way, the issue of the tribes that we have today, they were a creation because white people didn't understand our social structure. Our social structure was so complicated that these white people could not understand. Why? If you notice, for example, Bati Amakalanga ngama Western Shona, for example, it's because they didn't understand. They were so confused because our culture is so deep and within our country, Zimbabwe or Southern Africa as a whole. There's a lot of secrecy that we Africans we kept from these people and they didn't understand. So but they created what we call the tribes that we have today. So city tribalism, yes, we see Moses Kuma within Ndebele Shona, as you would like to put it. Again, there is no tribe such as Ndebele. There's no tribe such as Ndebele, or should I say there's no ethnicity such as Ndebele, and there's no tribe such as Shona either. There's no such thing. And in Ndebele was isizwe esasakwe ngumzilikazi. Silama Venda, silama Tonga, silama lona lokuthiwa ngamashona futhi, silama Khalanga, silabanguni ababekhuluma what we call Ndebele today. So that was a nation that today it doesn't exist anymore, simply because, and this is Zimbabwe, so we nation kade so Zimbabwe elabantu bonke under one system, which again was created by these colonialists. But ngiphinde futhi ngithi leShona kwakungela into enjalo vele. There was no such tribe as Shona. Kwakungabantwana bakaTobera, abantwana bakaMambiri, who were children who built great Zimbabwe and so on and so forth. I would like people to understand that because it's very important in order to debunk this tribalism. Sizakhuluma ngokuthi kanti vele tribalism yaqalisa njani. But ngathi ngufake so, our people in history, they never discriminated on each other based on what language you spoke. Look it up. They never discriminated each other on based on what language. As a matter of fact, our people lived amongst each other, intermarried amongst each other, took each other's languages. For example, isindebele lesi sisikhulumayo namhlanje ayisiso sindebele sabuya sikhuluma ngomzilikazi. Umzilikazi sorry ngizicorrecte futhi. Isindebele lesi sisikhuluma namhlanje ayisiso sindebele esabuya sikhulunywa yinkosi umzilikazi. Inkosi umzilikazi yathi buya yayingakhulumi isindebele lesi sikhulunywa yimi lawe manje. When the king arrived in what we call today Matabeleland, which I like to call Western Province, he was speaking Nguni language. That was what was spoken by the Khumalo family. But when they arrived in with a little bit of Tefuya, because Tefuya. But when he arrived in what we call Zimbabwe today, and he built a nation and he created a new language which incorporated some of these words from these other small clans. For example, Istemo and so on and so forth. Istemo, we don't have a word called Istemo, Tina, Esinguni, Esinguni, you understand what I mean? So they started in to village siyathatha even izibongo zabanye. For example, kulabantu abaningi abathatha isibongo sakoDube, oDube abaningi namhlanje ngabantu abangasiwo makhalanga abangamanguni, yikuthi nje babebuya bahlalisana lo Chief Umalaba. uChief Umalaba, sorry, uBhango wasesithi malina lihlalisana lami ngoba wayebathanda kwakuyibudlelano kwakungakhetho vele kwakungela into ukuthi kinketha abachabi. We didn't discriminate. Okay, izimpi zethu wasn't based on ukuthi wena ukhuluma ilanguage yiphi kumbe wena uzelwe ngubani. It was based on nje ukuthi izinkosi zethu ziyabe zingabonisana. For example, umzilikazi wala lo Shaka kodwa bonke bengamanguni. Inkosi umzilikazi le nkosi uShaka balwa kodwa bonke bengamanguni. Inkosi uZwide lo nkosi umzilikazi balwa bonke kodwa bengamanguni. You understand what I mean? So even uChangamire Ntombo la enjalo wayesilwa lamanye izinkosi esilwa labo Mutapa benjalo bengothi so-called Shoners. So it was nothing to do with language. Our people never looked. That was the last thing we looked at when we were living or sharing kingdoms or intermarrying. Kwakuyinto engaqhakathekanga leyo. So oduba abaningi vele ngamanguna ayivela eMzansi yikuthi bafika laphana esigodlweni sasePlumtree sebelimele. Abanye befika bebalekela phela abantu babegijimiswa ngamasotha kaDingane. uDingane sethathe over uShaka ibutho lika So baqalisa ukuthi sebethathisana labantwana bakaBhangu. uBhangu wathi mawuthatha abantwana thathanini izibongo zakoDube. Labo bavuma bazange babe le ndaba. Bathi vele isibongo, what is the last name? Babe sisathatha isibongo sakini sithathe labantwana bakini sizohlalisana laba baze bahlala khona ngale banikezwa izitemo kodwa begcina izitemo zakibe zakoKhumalo kodwa bena sebengaboDube namhlanje. And there's many kulabantu vele abaningi abangakomoyo kodwa bengasibo omoyo basisishoneni. Ungathola ukuthi kulaboncube besishoneni kodwa kube laboncube besingunini kodwa kube laboncube abangamavenda and so on and so forth. Uyabona ukuthi kwakuthathwa nje lawo othatha isibongo nje. It was nothing ukuthi uzondo omunye ukuthi ulimi lwakhe lukhulumayo. It was never. As a matter of fact, our people learned from each other as they live. Sizakhuluma ngokuthi kanti tribalism yaqalisa njani, yaqalisa ngobani, sesihamba. Kodwa vele thina njengabantu and ngiphinde ngibuyele ngokuthi amaNdebele kokuthi ulindebele. Abantu abaningi abahlala emathebeleni today, most and majority of them, they are what we call amakhalanga, lamatonga, and so on and so forth. Inguni vele balutshwane vele babuya bevele bebalutshwane. So sometimes I find umuntu engowakomoya ethi hey amashona angifuni ukuzwisana lamashona. Wena omoyo bonke majority 98-99% bakomoya vele lina labantu esishoneni lihlobene. You understand what I mean? Ngoba ngumndeni ofanayo nje, you just moved lina lalingabantu abamuva bahlala western part of the country. Then let's say hlangana nomzilikazi laqalisa ukukhuluma isiNdebele. And because you didn't have a problem lina ukuthi khona ukuthi language was not a barrier. Lani laphilisana labo laze lazibiza lathi lina lingamaNdebele. Kodwa lino lihlobene yikho yakuze uTonga emoyo lona ohlabela ingoma ethi Samanyemba uSamanyemba waze wathi ngilivuma abalanda inini murozi imikhulu. Kodwa uyathola esingunini lasesindebeleni kulabo vuma abalanda lihlobene lina lingabantu wani. Yikuthi nje mawuhlala kwenye indawo uyaluza untshintshe ilanguage yakho. Induna enkulu eManicaland yinduna yesinguni kodwa la isizikhuluma ilanguage yesiRusu apha khona ngalisibhotsha ngoba uhlala khona ngale. Abantu bethu babesithi ungafika endaweni uyahlonipha ilanguage yabantu lapho ufike khona. Uthatha ilanguage yabo, uthatha amasiko akho. Kodwa ungakhohlwa wena ukuthi uvela ngaphi. You understand? Ngizaba khona lapho baba.
Yey. Gazi Sankara uyibeka kamnandi. And I would love you to mix with English as well so that you know, since people believe that we talk on a maybe washona in Ndebele party. Cela nimfakela amahathi lama likes lakithi uSankara nyalicela. So, ikade njani tribalism? When did this tribalism start? When and how?
The tribalism started with the colonialists. So when the colonialists arrived in Southern Africa, they struggled to understand. Let me tell you, we didn't have tribes in Africa. We had clans. Everything that you see today is a product of a father giving birth to a child. Just as you, Baba Philip, lami lo wami intombazana wami engilayo, uzazala zale, kuzaba labantu abangu thousands or millions who are to come from eyami inzalo kaKex. Ngazala umntwana ongumfana so, azalo omunye, bazale ngibe lezizukulwane ngize ngiyekufa. Bonke ukhokho wabo babekhonde kimi, bekhombe kuKex, labanye bekhombe kubaba wami, abanye bekhombe kukhulu wami, and so on and so forth. We had the clans. Let me hold it there. As Kangele integrate Zimbabwe yaqalisa njani. The reason why abantu bamuva at one point kingdom eyayishayina eZimbabwe, one of the greatest African kingdoms known to mankind, that even the colonialists didn't believe that blacks built, was the great Zimbabwe empire. It was so great that it was known all across India, or not all across Europe, and not all across Africa. We are traders from Tanzania, traders from India, traders from Portugal coming into trade with Great Zimbabwe. That's how great that kingdom was. This is why the stones are still standing today. When you hear about Dalabe City, when they talk about that, they are talking about during Great Zimbabwe. We were able to mold rocks into bricks. How did we pinch rocks? The way that we it was because we used to reheat that granite rock, and then it's under your pencil, and then they break into blocks. Why do our elders always talk about Gudala Amache Esanwebe? It's because that is when our people were at one point so united, when we were flourishing, when our nation was so great. That kingdom alone, by over 150 chiefs who sent men every winter to go and build that kingdom. 150 chiefs who worked together hand in hand to build that kingdom. This is why today you have Karangas, you have Manikas, you have Marozwi, you have Malemba, all claiming they built it. They were together. You go to one separator based on tribe, which is stupid. They were all together building that thing. Because it was 150 chiefs who worked together to build that thing. They are talking about when life was so nice and life was so good. This was during Great Zimbabwe. So what happened with Great Zimbabwe then? How then did we end up having people living Makorekore, Manika, Makalanga, Makaranga, and so on and so forth? When Great Zimbabwe fell, the problem was kingdom. I will use this today for just.
Sorry about that. They were calling me.
So what?
Yeah. Sorry, they were calling me. Yes.
Okay. So the succession in Great Zimbabwe was from brother to brother. Yeah. It caused conflict because if you have many sons, they all start fighting for the throne. So bonke omunye ufuna ukubusa omunye ufuna ukubusa bagcina sebedakeka abafana labana abanye basebesuka from that same Great Zimbabwe abanye ba umkwati wayakha in iKhami ruins lapho sokule Khami ruins khona, and then uMutapa he went up north, he met the Tabara people, he built what then ended up becoming the Ngwangonyatisa Mutota, that's what his name, and his son was Makombe who took over, who created the great Mutapa empire that came after Great Zimbabwe. That was built by another brother who went up north. Abanye Puti bahamba bahlala they are all brothers of the same father, speaking the same language. But the problem becomes here, my brother. When you move to the eastern part of the country, ukuluma ngati language ababekhuluma khona phana ngati kwakuyiSikaranga Khalanga. That was the brand. The Shona people like to call it Ichibano. That was the language they were speaking. Isn't it? I told you ukuthi amanguna ayikhuluma isintungela all inkosi umzilikazi. Labo babekhuluma okuthiwa iChibano, which was the deep Shona. You call it deep Shona nowadays. So beka inkinga lapho before. Ma when usuka laphana usiya yakha la usuhambele inkomo zakho usuhambela bobhuti bakho and you go to live in the eastern part of our country. Uyehlala eManicaland. Suhlangana nabantu baseMozambique amachopi lan. Now your language becomes a bit different. This is why you have people who say anu abathi ukuthi banu. Those are people of Manicaland. Then if you go to the western part of the country, your language then gets a bit more corrupted. Then if you go up north, your language also gets becoming a bit changed. This is how we ended having these so-called tribes, but they were actually family clans. We always were family clans. Let me go to tribalism. Then when the colonialists came, they didn't know this history. They didn't understand this history. Because in Africa, again, I said we had clans. Tribes were in Europe. That's what they knew. When tribes, there were Germanic tribes, Scottish tribes, Celtic tribes, and so on and so forth. So when they came, they started calling us tribes as well, based on language. They based it on language, whereas the language is the same because our language is the same. Of course, you can pretty much hear the same words. They just misconstrued that and started creating tribes. The Portuguese thought it was the Mukaranga. The others started saying, no, it is the Manika, and they started changing and so on and so forth. That's when the tribe thing started. But it's the Zulu tribe and this Xhosa tribe, AmaXhosa, LamaZulu, those who know, who have been following my teaching, they all come from the same father. They have the same ancestor. You could omnyu puti la futi uXhosa, AmaXhosa, but ukhokho wabo kwakunguMalangane. Like what I nothing share for it about Zulu. I mean, I want to keep walking down to the further down to Southern Africa. That's when he created his own Xhosa state. And it is Xhosa, Lavela, Wuti Amakoisan, sorry, not the Koisan. I don't like that word. You would Abatwa, but oh, these guys, because they were fighting, they are angry men. So what's about what closer, and then it caught on with the clan ended up being called Xhosas. This is why AmaXhosa are the closest to the Batwa people. Ungabakhangela ngama features, ubakhangele ngebehavior. Bafitshane, babomvu, uNelson Mandela, ulama amehlo lawa ngama Chinese, abafazi babo baphiwe ngapha ngemuva, and the language yabo is the one with the most clicks because they intermix mostly with the Batwa people. So I'm trying to show you how these groups all started coming out, but they were not tribes, they were family clans. That's what they were. Mfana labo Khumalo olophe ababeyanga bethi we are this Ndebele tribe. No, babuya besithi siyisizwe samaNdebele kodwa singabako Khumalo ngokuba bakhoya ngoKhumalo. You understand where I'm going with this? Kufanele sizwe iRose Empire kwakuthiwa singamaRose singamalozi eyibuswa ngabako Moyo uChangamire Dombo ngoba that was their father's royal family. Yiko kulabo Moyo abagcwele iZimbabwe yonke. Do you know why? Because everybody wanted to identify with that kingdom at one point. So everyone started changing their last name to Moyo. Wonke umuntu la efuna ukuhlobisa no Moyo. The issue identity that I once discussed last time on my part 7 live. So you see that these were all just families. But when the whites came to our continent, they didn't understand that. But language is different. This is a Ndebele tribe, this is a Sotho tribe. Kanti amaSotho lamaTswana bazalwa ngobaba ofanayo. That's why language yakubifana. Isipedi nje just a mixture of isibenda leSotho. Ngabantu abahlala khona phana bathagisana labo, ba create a state which was the Pedi state and so on and so forth. So if you understand our history, it's so complex. But when ababengayizwisisi history le, baqalisa ke ukcreate ama-tribes. Okay, so kulama tribes sebecreatile, so kubuyi Zimbabwe sesigroupe ngama tribes, sorry, kubuyi Rhodesia sebesigroupe ngama tribes. How did tribalism start? We go on to that. I'll let you talk, then sengikhuluma ukuthi yaqalisa njani ke ngoba yayivele ingekho. Our people lived together. Even in Rhodesia, our people were together, we were mixing and intermarrying. This is why I always say, be careful. Many people of my lives are starting to realize that they are not what they thought they were. They are Ngunis, but they were thinking I've met so many people with inbox me, all saying, wow, I never. Zeti, one of my 86-79 comrades here, he always thought he was Kalanga until he found out he was a Khumalo. I thought I was a Kalanga ngoba nginguvundla. Kanti no, I am a Koisa, ngilisili lenkosi, ikonke isili lenkosi, amevathwa, lathi sathatha isibongo nje ngokuthi we just wanted to fit in. So imfihlo yethu inkulu, our history is so hidden that even abelungu amakhiwa lawa they couldn't understand it and they misconstrued, started building tribes and so on and so forth. Kodwa thina njengabantu siloke siphilisana, sichadisana, kungela nkinga. We never discriminated based on language. As a matter of fact, we accommodated each other. Kanti khona lokhu uTodube bayehlala ngithi kwakuhlaliswana mawubaleka kumbe balixothile omunye beseliloya kumbe belilwela ubukhosi uyabuya uzofihla uzocatsha ngayo baze bakuntintibizo phela ukuthi mabe kudinga bangakutholi banenge abantu abakoMasuku. Let me show you I'll show you a last example before we go on. Uyakhumbula mfowethu Sibanda during Nkukurahundi, who was the dissident that everybody was looking for? Ukwesela was not his name. Kwesela is a surname, by the way, guys. Kwesela is not a name of a person. It's a surname of a person.
Yes.
Now, that name, because a dissident called Kwesela was being looked for, that name became so dirtied and so looked for. It was so dirty and filthy. Even the people of Kwesela felt ashamed to have that last name. Let me explain. During Nkukurahundi, there were hundreds and hundreds of Kweselas, abantu bako Kwesela, who changed their last name because of one guy, one so-called dissident again, who was called Gwesela. Saba and the people, the 5th Brigade was collecting Gweselas. You are dead, your family is dead, and everybody is dead because they were looking for this Gwesela. So we have today, Nkuluma Manje, we have people who are parading themselves as Dubes, Moyos, and Ndlovus, and Spandas, who are actually Gweselas, who all had to bend their birth certificate. What is Zenzel's programs? If you sit down and you speak with them, they will tell you birth certificate, anything that associated them with that Gwesela name. And they all had to ask the neighbors, uncles, teachers at school to register them under their false name. Labantwana, umfazi wakho wayemithi, umntwana kumzali, uhlumnikeza isibongo maybe esako Masombuka, kumbe esako Mgabe, kumbe esako Zopho, just so you were not killed. So this is another example of people changing surnames. It's very important. Yeah.
Hey, madoda nansuluju namhla sizuluju madoda cala umfakela ama-life amazi umnami. Right. Manje thina abakodawo siphuma ngapi? Where are these funders coming from? Bayabuza abantu ukuthi uMphilip uzithi uMphilip Sibanda siphuma kuphi?
Selizombuza ngesibongo. Ngathi ke nje kancane ngabodawo odawo lina.
Comrade, are we educated? We need you to educate us because I am actually working with the government for you to go and teach history in Zimbabwe, but you'll be based in the UK. Museum. We want to open a museum, our own Zimbabwe museum in the UK. Then you do that, you do your profession. Don't talk about me. So tell us, Uspanda, you have a tell you can Uspanda where for pussy. You puma up in Kabugava. I eat.
Ngingathi kahle kahle ngabosibanda zabamba kancane ngabakosibanda khona lapho osibanda kulabo sibanda kulesibanda ezishiyeneyo but as long as wena ungusibanda udawo
lalela khuluma njobi iapple lapho ibe kancane khuluma
all right, no problem. Odawo bakhona odawo abahlukeneyo. Udawo onguye oprominent, sorry, usibanda onguye oprominent nguyena lo udawo. Kanti yena udawo kahle kahle udawo why kuthiwa ngudawo ayisodawo ngodawo. Utawo mangisithi ngutawo utawo ngikhuluma ngesisuthu Setswana lina odawo originally abanengi benu ngingasakhulumi ngalaba odawo sorry hold on lino sibanda abanengi mangikhuluma ngabodawo lingamasuthu Tswana, that's what you are. Kulabona usibanda abangasibodawo ongasodawo tuna yibo laba ke abangathi ngabantu besishonene, again I don't like to use that word, abathatha nje isibongo sabo sibanda befuna labo phela ukuthi benzeni bafithe in within ngoba kwakulama benefits phela ukuthi ube lesibongo sesinguni ukuthi la uzibize ngebizo lesinguni. At that time kwakudlisa ngoba kwakubusa inkosi umzilikazi. But lina odawo initially lingabodawo lina lingamasuthu Tswana nje lathi libuya esizweni lekuthiwa yiZimbabwe namhlanje bantshintsha ke udawo lwana kwaba ngudawo to ukuthi phela angithi amasuthu Tswana bakhuluma isitekela nguni abasebenzisa ud basebenzisa uT abanye abasebenzisa uZ bathi T. So that's when they just changed that T to D kwaba ngudawo kufana labo nsingo ngosingo, but because what sokulesikhathi samanguni bantshintsha bafaka uN ukuthi nje to make the surname sound nguni nice kwaba ngonsingo. So mali nalidinga imvelaphi yenu baba Philip ngingathi lina lidabuka emasuthwini ngamasuthu. That's who you are. You are the dawo kule ndawo kulabantu kule group there was a group of amasuthu okuthiwa ngamatawung. I think they still live in South Africa now. You are part of that branch,
right? My father, that's all done.
And you're gonna put in king upon a Philip. Now uzasuka ke kusasa susithi hey ngilindebele amasuthu angwafuni kumbe masuhlale South Africa ubusithi hey amasuthu lawa kanti ngabakini. Yeah. Kufana labo Joshua Nkomo Onyongolo Nkomo ngamasuthu labo. So this is where the confusion becomes. Yeah. Even though it's today
we are talking about tribalism. We want to engage every Zimbabwean today, regardless of this barbaric thing. So we are going to, I know you are good in mixing both Shona and Ndebele to accommodate them together here. All right. So I want you to do that. Yes. So what about this thing where I'm in alone? You get the same sinye. I'm not going to marry him to an husband or a husband. What's up for now?
Yeah, ngiphinde futhi ngithi andi ngingakakhohlwa ethiwa dawuduna dawuduna. So sometimes abanye kwakhuluma nje abantu bakoshumba abanye abantshintsha baba ngosibanda. Do you understand? Because isibanda kuyini? Isibanda it falls under the ishumba. It falls under the cat. So abantu abaningi okwakuthiwa ngoshumba abeshoneni yibo ngoba labo basefuna phela ukubenefita phela enkosini emzilikazi phela lapha bathi thina lathi sesingabosibanda and there's a history about it just nje now you put me on the spot ukuthi kanti why kwathiwa dawuduna ngoba kulomunye wayengani uphezulu kulomunye ubona laba babethathile khona phana ezibongweni. So that was a mixture. So ungathola baba Philip Sibanda wena kusasa isibongo sakho singusibanda kube lo munye usibanda wena uyakwanisa ukuthatha omunye usibanda wakoshumba ngoba ngusibanda nje ngokuconverta ibizo lelana. You understand what I mean? I'll give you a very good example. uPeter Ndlovu, for example, uPeter Ndlovu andivele uNdlovu ayisosibongo sakhe ulesibongo sakhe sesitonga. It always runs away from me tonga malambele or something like that. And the isibongo lesana when you convert it to isindebele nguNdlovu. You understand? So uPeter Ndlovu yakwanisa ukuthatha umfazi wakoNdlovu ngoba yena isonguni yena litonga. You understand what I mean? But because again indaba ye-identity babefuna ukuthi bathola ama-birth certificate and bahamba bayahlala emzilikazi babefuna ukuthi phela labo bafithe ini ungathiwa ungamatonga lokhu anti kwakule inferiority complex ngesikhathi leso. So labo bantshintsha baba ngoNdlovu ukuze bathole ama-birth certificate basebenze ubaba la athola umsebenzi e-BCC. I-identity le ngikhuluma ngayo abantu bayantshintsha all the time. Thina as Africans we change njengonwabo. We just keep changing colors like a chameleon. So yikho khathesi nje emzilikazi kule ndawo uthiwa kusematongeni. It's a dedication to Peter Ndlovu lo Adam Ndlovu lo Martina Ndlovu ngoba bekwazi abafana labantu bavele ebhinga le ayisiboni Ndlovu ngokuzalwa. So lawe ungahlangana kusasa le ntombi ethi ngwakosibanda akholelwa koBulawayo uthi udingisisa ukhangela ngezithakazelo kumbe ngezitemo zakhe. You find that she's actually a shumba. Uyu Mdzimayuru ayisimndere uyu anova I don't know, anova kumaswingo ndishumba uyu just because he had great grandfather wanted to mix or wanted to marry one of Mzilikazi's daughters. He changed and Guninized the name. Ngiphinde futhi ngithi kulaba koNcube, I've got one of my 8679 comrades ngokoNcube and he's married to a Ncube woman. Again, it's because there are many Ncubes but they are not all related. So you can be a Ncube and be a Tonga. You can be a Ncube and be a Venda. You can be a Ncube and be Shona. You can be a Ncube and be Ndebele. There are many different Ncubes. They are not related. So this concept of I can't marry because it's the same surname. Please do some research and find out.
One second. Tepiso, if you come in here on my platform and say this guy talks rubbish without your points, I've done my research. You are welcome to move out of the platform. Don't come here and try to discourage my guest in the studio and say he talks rubbish. If you think he talks rubbish, I kindly ask you in a nice way, Tepiso, and just vacate the place. There are some people who are benefiting. So if you're not interested in Tepiso, I kindly ask you in a nice way, just vacate that page before I'm sorry. Continue, young man.
I know. Good right.
Continue, young man. Continue.
Yeah, so I know it's okay. You get people like that all the time. So this is when I'm talking about this, it's just showing that you can have the same surnames and be completely not related. Like I said, the Ncubes, kulabo Ncube Mabuza, kulabo Ncube Mjaji, there's different types of Ncubes, kulabo Ncube Mabalanda, and so on and so forth. They are not related. It's just that at that point, most people who lived in most people in Venderland, what you call a bait bridge nowadays. And many people who lived in Maswingo, they have this Ncube thing because they were iron makers. So most iron people who are kanda in Simbis, zenkosi uMzilikazi for his army.
Yeah.
They then, most of them took over that surname ukuthi Ncube. I'm trying to think ukuthi isithakazelo sabo. I know isithakazelo sabo. They've got this thakazelo, a unique thakazelo, which has to do with ukukhanda imkhonto. So most people who live there, because of their job, they all ended up taking upon that totem. And you find, like, for example, kulabo thobe labaneng abangabo Ncube labo, ngotobera ke labo. These people ndibana batobera, the Mashona, they are the most respected. They are the rainmakers, the mujajis, and so on and so forth. So they took on a Ncube totem as well. And you find in Kezo Yasenjelele, when they say that the people who have the keys to Njelele are Ncubes, it's because it's not Ncubes, the Nguni ones. No, it's not the Ncubes that from South Africa. No, it's the Ncube. I suppose Mavuza Labana Hai, Ncube Abangamom Chachi. The ones who are the Shona, so-called Shona, Otobera, the ones who were in Great Zimbabwe, because they knew how to work to rain make. So yiko uMzilikazi watshela bona inkezo. Kodwa bona vele asibo Ncube, ngabantu eShona labana nje bathatha isibongo esiNcube. So you find even indlovu zinengi, kulabo umthombeni, umthombeni labo Gegana, those are Ndebeles. When I say Ndebeles, I'm talking about Southern African Ndebeles. They are the brothers of Mabenas and Mahlangos. So you find Ondlovu Ogegana umthombeni, they don't really marry with Omahlanga nabamabhena ngoba bahlobene sort of I don't want to go too much into history, but there was in Nzunza uManala lo Mthombeni babengabobhuti bamaNdebele kingdom. Some of them came with Mzilikazi. So you find there's other Ndlovu zogatheni labo boya benyathi labanye Ndlovu omasombuluka labanye Ndlovu, it's different types. It's just people took the last name. Now I wanted to talk, how did we start having tribalism?
Yes.
So yeah. So during the struggle of our independence, again, to say our people didn't hate each other based on language. We never did it. We never hated each other based on where you come from. We never did it. It was not within our DNA. Okay, let me give you an example. In 1920, when the War of Liberation started, there were many groups that were forming all across Rhodesia at that time, because the whites were the ones who were in control all over Rhodesia, and everybody was starting to say, no, we want rights for blacks to the rights for the blacks to vote. We want the rights for the blacks to be able to enter townships. We want to be able to get back our land, because what again the whites did, they pushed a lot of us from our land, especially Wange Lapana. Most of Abattoir and people who lived there in Wange, they were moved out and taken to what we call Ama reserves. That is where most people who lost their land were taken to. This is why we all started getting stuck. I think Plum Tree was one of those. There are many different types of group of people living in the same place. It's because they were moved out when the whites were trying to take the most arable land, mining gold, and building Wange National Park. This is how my ancestors ended up living in Choloto. They were just living in Wange. That's what the Batwa do. So they knew they always end up at Wange. That's where they used to live, but cross over Botswana. But when Wange National Park was built, our people were taken and moved to Choloto. Birth certificate. This is when we changed to start of Wunda, the start of Kupa, and so on and so forth. We took these surnames just to assimilate with the groups that were living there. Okay, so let's come on independence. When we started fighting for independence, I want to show you something. Brother Philip, do you know who was the most prominent politician in Bulawayo in the 1930s?
In the
early 1930s, the most respected politician for Bulawayo. Do you know who it was?
No.
It was a man called Benjamin Burombo.
Oh,
that was the most respected politician. Yes. He was the most loved and respected politician in Bulawayo. Him and a man called Jairus Jiri, they were the most respected and loved men in Bulawayo. Emakhaya ngale yikho lapho kwakulobaba uJoshua umqabo kaNongolonkomo. Laye engumSuthu who was leading the Kalanga, it was called the Kalanga Cultural Society. This is why people sometimes think Joshua Nkomo was a Kalanga. No, the man was a Suthu man, but the Kalangas loved him so much, didn't care about his language and didn't care about ukuthi ngumSuthu kumbuzala nguNyongolo kumbe what. They took him on board and said, can you lead out? Imagine mina lawe Philip namhlanje, mina the children of Mambo take me today and say, can you lead the Zulu Cultural Society? Mina ngilisili so. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, for example, when Abakutate Katesibeti go and lead the Ndao Cultural Society, when unjalo unje. Today, in today's day and age, it's a bit like, no, we want our own to lead. But Joshua Nkomo was such a great leader who cared about the people he lived under Uchif Bango.
Yes.
So he cared about his district and his people so much that they got him to lead their own cultural. This was the nature of our people. Most people were speaking language, but Benjamin Burombo was so loved and respected that they chose him to lead and be the leader of their movement. Let me tell you, let me ask you another question. Do you know who was the first black mayor in Zimbabwe and where he was?
That is a serious history, my boy, you know.
Okay, the first black mayor in Zimbabwe is a man called Charles Mzingeli. And Charles Mzingeli was the first mayor. Do you know where it was? It was in Harare, in a place that we call Mbare today. He was the most respected black politician in Harare, and his name was Charles Mzingeli. And he became the first black mayor of Zimbabwe in a place what we call Mbare today. And back then it used to be called Harare, when Harare was called Salisbury. But when we took independence, we changed the name Salisbury to Harare, and then we called what used to be called Harare Mbare. And can you imagine again, a man from Atebeleland was the first black mayor in a place what we call Mashonaland today in Harare. This, I'm trying to tell you all this to show you that our people didn't care what your language was or who gave birth to you or what your clan was, as long as you had leadership material and as long as you cared. And of course, Charles Mzingeli cared about the people in Mbare. That's why he was agitating for their rights. Of course, Benjamin Burombo cared about the people of Bulawayo. That's why he was fighting and nearly died and lost his life agitating for their rights. You see what I'm going for? People never cared. This is why I said, of course, Joshua Nkomo cared about the Kalanga society to the point that he agitated for their rights and they elevated them, him who was not a Kalanga himself, to lead their movement. I am showing you. You see, there was no tribalism. Okay, let's go. Then, while we are on News Jaka, another great leader again in Zimbabwe, Joseph Msiga, who came from Mashonaland East. He came again to Bulawayo. He was another leader of Bulawayo who was so greatly respected by all the revolutionaries. He was agitating, they were doing protests in Bulawayo, leading this protest. I'm talking about people from other areas coming in and leading. This was the situation within our people at that time. Umkabe wazonda wezubuhlungu wathi baba mwantshiya waya koBulawayo wathatha umfazi weSindebeleni. Yes, because koBulawayo and kwakulama mine. So people were going to work there and people were mingling. Kwakubuya amanyasara and everyone. It was a city, irregardless where you lived, people accept. They didn't look at your language and say, no, we don't associate. No, we don't want you to lead us. They, like I said, Benjamin Burombo and Jairus Jiri, most respected. The first black mayor, Charles Mzingeli, he was in Mbare, what we call Mbare today. He was voted by blacks. The blacks supported him. That's a story for another day. But I'm just trying to show you that at that time, people didn't care about your language. There was no tribalism. Okay, let's fast forward. How then we get to tribalism? Joseph Msiga, because Joshua Nkomo was such a respected man and he was such a leader with such great charisma at such a young age. You know, very prophesied law was going to be great. Joseph Msiga, when he met him, he told and convinced his colleagues, Oburombo, Lavanya, what I think this guy is the guy who is going to lead us. But Jason Sapapamoyo, but he was also a junior at that time. There were many guys at that time, Amabizonja, just running away from me, who were there, who all appointed Joshua Nkomo to lead them. A Sutu guy, by the way, who was the smallest clan and irrelevant, but because of his intelligence, they were willing to be led. They didn't, language, it was based on your skills. What they understood was, and I wanted to know so difficult man, we are a new generation. Propaganda, yes, ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF, they've destroyed and used tribalism to divide the country so much that we have forgotten just over 100 years ago. People didn't live like that. But because Joshua Nkomo and those guys were in the 1930s, babekwazi imbala. Ngithi Joshua Nkomo wathatha umntaka Magogwe Fuyane, uMagogwe Fuyane oyengu best friend ngalo Bhengula, umama Fuyane ngithi wamthatha. So wayekwazi ukuthi kwakuphilwa njani, umama Fuyane wayemtshela phela ukuthi ubaba kwakusasingaphili sothile. They knew and understood that tribalism and these things were not existing during that time. So they didn't look at tribe and they didn't look at language and they didn't look at color as a basis of judging somebody's literacy. Okay, so kucheso kufonywe iZAPU. This was in 1961. And isakhuluma ngetribalism ngoba siqalisa ke manje. ZAPU was formed. When ZAPU was formed, ZAPU had those who, I think ZAPU only had one or two Ndebeles Ngunis, should I say. The rest were Kalanga. There was a lot of Manika influence during that time. It seems as if the Amanika are intelligent. I think Epitepo came a little bit few years later. So when ZAPU was formed, ZAPU was fine. I'm bringing tribalism here. ZAPU was formed. ZAPU was fine. They were working together. And then in 1962, where the problems began. How did tribalism begin? I will tell you. I've written a document which is called The Fathers of Tribalism. The fathers of tribalism were these two guys. There's a third one, I don't remember his name, but it was Leopold Takawira, Robert Mugabe, and there was a third guy that I can't remember. It's running away from my head. Leopold Takawira, how he started this tribalism thing. He came to the UK. He was the Foreign Affairs Minister of ZAPU, esebenza lapha UK. Again, because the British were keen on removing a Rhodesian government, but they needed a puppet party that they can use ukuthi basungule phela bathathe over ilizwe lelana. They infiltrated this guy called Leopold Takawira, and then all of a sudden Leopold Takawira was starting propaganda. He was Robert Mugabe looked at him as a father. He was the one who mentored and took Robert Mugabe to where Robert Mugabe is today. If you know about Robert Mugabe's life, he always loved Leopold Takawira. He was the one who Mugabe was a small boy at that time. I think he was Secretary of Information and Publicity. They wanted to start a new political party, which was, by the way, being funded by the MI5. This is how it started, is ZANU-PF. Tribalism began with ZANU-PF. I want to tell you that. Let me just say it like that real. Now, and I'll explain and show you examples and how it ended even was over this whole thing. Tribalism was started by ZANU-PF. ZAPU was never tribalist. ZAPU, it was the biggest party in Zimbabwe, and he had all groups of people in Zimbabwe. They were all under one party. Mainly, anyways, if you want to put it like that. And then, as time went on, Leopold Takawira, because he was here in the UK, he was bought, or should I say he was influenced by the British, who said to him, form your own party, and they will find you will lead this party. But their intention was to destroy ZAPU because they realized the ZAPU was not willing to negotiate with the white rule. They were not willing to bend or to be broken. It was too strong. If the ZAPU, before ZAPU was destroyed to ZANU, chop, I'm telling you, we would have taken the country so quick because the cadres we had there were formidable. But then they started to split. Okay, so when ZANU was formed, by the way, why Joseph Msiga was so amazing and why Joseph Msiga was so loved in Bulawayo. The man had no inch of tribalism in his bone. This guy is not Joseph Msiga. Sitting with Joseph Msiga again into identity, because if you can, for example, where the NS Mapuranga, some of you know him. He was the Highlanders captain for about 2 seasons, 3 seasons. This guy was such a good hard-body captain that when he played for Highlanders, people stopped calling him NS Mapuranga. They called him Uma Planka. Because we go Bulawayo, we've got a tendency. If you come, we'll change your name and Guninize it and Debelenize it. So Joseph Msika, his name is Joseph Mvanu. But because he was so respected and loved, they gave him an endearing name, which became, because sometimes some people think Joseph Msika was Ndebele. No, he was from Mashonaland East. It's the same as Europe at Moffat, because Inkosi uMzilikazi yayimthanda kakhulu, yaze yamnikeza ibizo elithi Mchete. But again, that's a story for another day, because kwakungasiyo uMzilikazi wamnikeza lelo bizo, walinikezwa ngabantu besindebele nokuthiwa uzama ukuchedelela enkosini. But okay, we can talk about that another day. So it's something that our people used to do. So Joseph Msika was the one. How it started in Tanzania. Joshua Nkomo was in Tanzania. Oh, story I'm going to see in there.
No. Continue.
Joshua Nkomo was in Tanzania.
We want to hear this story, my young brother. Please.
Okay, so the reason why Joshua Nkomo as well was made the president of ZAPU, he had travel documents. He was the one who could travel. So they needed somebody who could go and get resources. Mind you, the first guns that Zimbabwe received and the first military assistance came from Libya. It was Colonel Gaddafi who met Joshua Nkomo in the desert. And he said to Joshua Nkomo, whatever you want, tell me and I'll give you. And Joshua Nkomo said, I want to train my people. And Colonel Gaddafi went to Bulgaria and bought planes, which is sent to Zambia, whereby now there were second-hand planes, old planes from Bulgaria, which took them to be trained, Libya, Russia, and so on and so forth. So Joshua Nkomo was going mobilizing resources for the struggle. But when he arrived in Egypt, one point, one of the Egyptian president, Onasa, said to him, I'm hearing there's this Ndebele Shona thing. What tribe are you? He asked Joshua Nkomo. Joshua Nkomo, because he understood there was no tribes. And Joshua said, this is why when Joshua Nkomo spoke about Kukuraundi, he said he cannot blame the Kukuraundi on Shona speaking people. He never said the Shona tribe. Tumiso Tabengwa, commander-in-chief wetu, at the last Congress that ZAPU had, he stood up, those who were there, they would tell you, he said himself, there is no Shona and there is no Ndebele. He spoke it at Congress. And I remember people didn't understand what he was saying. But this is the vision of our leader relation struggles. They understood what they were talking about. So when they asked Joshua Nkomo in Egypt, saying, Joshua Nkomo, they asked him, which tribe are you? Joshua Nkomo said, where are you getting this? Those who have read Joshua Nkomo's book, you will know what I'm talking about. He asked him, he said, why are you talking about Ndebele Shona? And NASA said, I need to tip you. There is a thing, rumors that I'm hearing, that there is a Ndebele Shona breaking thing going on within your party. Go back to Zimbabwe and discover what's going on. Then Joshua Nkomo went again to Tanzania. And when he was in Tanzania, it was, there was a guy, what's his name? One of the ZANU guys, he ended up living with them. His name is for the sake of time, I can't remember his name. He was the one who had because Congress here, ZAPU, sitting, for example, the Congress of ZAPU in 1961, the elective one, the elective Congress, and ZANU already were making plans. Behind closed doors, party. And then there was a document that was released in Tanzania. We need to get rid of this Mandevere. This Mandevere started to Mandevere. That document was found by Joseph Msika. Published in Southern Africa, so Zimbabwe. Joseph Msika, he is the one who took that document to Joshua Nkomo. This is when Joshua Nkomo realized, hold on, indeed there's something going on here. We'll have who are fighting this Ndebele Shona thing, but this was being pushed by the MI5. This is what then led to the formation of ZANU. But nominated to Joshua Nkomo when Joshua Nkomo was formally, so ZAPU, this is where they said that the name ZAPU shall never change. This is why when people say we must rebrand ZAPU, it must be changed, it must be called something else. No. They wanted to stop it. You go to ISO and abadala bafunga ngemithi bacithi utshwala phansi bathi izaphu ayisozibula and will never change this name ngoba babeloku bentshitsha amabizo eparty kuthiwa NDP sokutshitsha sokuthiwa yilokhu lalokhu. And then after that Congress, Tukutu izanu la yabi shay Congress ending ka Innocent Nkala baya form yabo political party omgabe baphuma sebehamba labo Takawira labo Innocent Nkala labanye abanengi sebesiya forma kwaba yiyo yodwa eyayilamashona kuphela. Izaphu yasala sibili labantu beshona labanengi amandebele mbawole 2 majority was still shona, but izanu PF yathi fona vele kwakungamashona wodwa sebeqalisile indaba le yesindebele shona, which we didn't understand where is it coming from until later on ngabo 1970. That's when they started to realize that it was the MI5 who were using Lipo Takawira to divide the country because they didn't want ZAPU to take over because ZAPU couldn't compromise. Okay, when 1963. Kandi why was Innocent Nkala the only person who was Ndebele who joined ZANU-PF? Because there was no Ndebele person there. It was purely Shona. There was only one Ndebele who was Innocent Nkala. Do you know why, Baba Span?
No. Why is there? I can assume.
Okay.
I can assume maybe his father was from Mashonaland. I am assuming Who did he know his father? Maybe was from Mashona. I don't know. I'm assuming.
Okay. Okay, ngiphinde futhi ngime khona lapho ngifuna ukulitshela ngo-Innocent Nkala. Izanu 1 was formed in Innocent Nkala's house. And 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, ngesikhathi sentumbane lapho okwala khona amasotsha apho sabulawa. Why did people ngizakubuza futhi Philip? Why did the soldiers fight during Tumbane? What was the cause of the Tumbane uprising? We know okwenza ukuthi abantu baqalisa ukudubulana eNtumbane because the Zanlas and Zikras were living. There was peace there. Yebo kwakulokuqalana and so, but there was no violence. What caused the violence in Tumbane? I'll give you a chance to answer. Okay.
Was it because of kwakulabantu? Kathi kwakuyini kaje? I can't remember. Kwakulabantu besonena abaningi. I can't remember.
No, again, it was because of Innocent Nkala. U-Innocent Nkala wabuya wakhuluma speech that provoked the Zipras. Ngoba uMgabe wayesesaba ukubuya ezokhuluma kobulawayo. Ekwazi ukuthi anti wayerobhile ukulokuzeni ukuwina i-election ka-1980 and he thought he wouldn't be received well. So wasethunya isithunywa sakhe istandarile sanokuthiwa ngu-Innocent Nkala ukuthi siyetshela abantu ukuthi ingumongameli uMgabe uyabuya ngoba hold it right there. It was Joshua Nkomo who was meant to open way for Umgabe. Umgabe wacela uNkomo ukuthi ngicela ubuye uyetshela abantu bobulawayo ukuthi ngiyabuya ngizobakhulumisa se-study independence. This was 1982-1983. uNkomo wayala. uNkomo wathi ma uMgabe nezitshela ukuthi upopular nguye okwazi yonke into kabuye yena ozokhuluma labantu. uMgabe wathi ebona uNkomo eyalela ukuthi ahambe emvulela indlela wathuma iInnocent Nkala. This is when Innocent Nkala went and made the famous speech esithi hey uNkomo ufana lenyoka and so on and so forth kulabantu abathengisa independence ekhuluma ngamaZipra. This was when Mugabe was meant to visit Bulawayo ezoyenza. He was doing a national thing in White City, and that speech and that statement that he made polarized Entumbane and Amasota Alisubula. That was because of Innocent Nkala again and again. Those who are watching the show, Kala wanna a video YouTube, you see Innocent Nkala again walking around with young men in Matebele and saying, "Wena kulumuguti wena ubuli president ubungapi wena." That was if you read Animal Farm.
I saw that.
That was Innocent Nkala again. Umthengisi ophezulu kwabo bonke abathengisi emhlabeni. Ngalitshela ukuthi why wahamba labo in the first place. That was Innocent Nkala again. If you read Animal Farm, you will know that when the pigs wanted to kill the chickens because the chickens were not willing to bend to their rule and their autocratic rule, they took the chickens and made them to come and commit crime to come and confess to trying to start a rebellion. Inkukhu bakatwali ngayekela ukuconfessa sizalibulala. That is says confessile inkukhu bazidla futhi anyways bazibulala. So that's what they did with those dissidents. Innocent Nkala was pushing those boys, telling them they must confess ukuthi bangama dissidents. Belingathi besilele ungabafana okuncane baqeda lapho bababopha bababulala. So this is where again Innocent Nkala, you see him in our history. He has been always being. If you those who've been following Dumiso Tabenga, those who are following Dumiso Tabenga's videos recently, you know that Dumiso Tabenga said one of the people he found hardest most to forgive was Innocent Nkala, and he said even when he used to see him, I find it so hard to forgive you because now why did Innocent Nkala become the only Ndebele guy to join a tribalist ZANU PF? ZANU, it was called ZANU at that time, not ZANU PF, in 1963. It was because Innocent Nkala, Unkomo wayethandana lo Siska Innocent Nkala. This is how it started. Unkomo wayethandana lo Siska Innocent Nkala wakhetha angifuna ukukhuluma into zakwamndeni kwakonkomo bakithi, but it's just a brief history. Angizazi zonke, I was not there and I don't want to disrespect ubaba Nkomo, but Innocent Nkala had a grievance because Unkomo kafunanga ukuthatha usisi wakhe wathatha umama Mafuyana, so he felt disrespected, and he held that grudge until izathatha ilizwe eloke elusana noNkomo. Wayemzonda uNkomo ukuthi wayengafunda ukubona uNkomo uNkala. Unkala wazonda wathi ngifisa ukugeza ngabe ubundebele kuyakwanisa ukugezeka ngabe ngiyabugeza anti watsho njalo unkala mfowethu Sibani. That's what he said. He said ngabe undebele kuyagezeka ngabe ngiyabugeza ubundebele lo. That guy was such an idiot, in other words. But long story short, this is when ZANU PF was formed, and it was a tribal party. It was exclusively Shona. And then where did they get their money? They were being funded. Those who have seen the videos of the independence of Zimbabwe, you hear Josat Makamatongo, whom I really love because the man was such an honest man. These boots that I'm wearing, they are from Sweden and these are from America. And these are from Britain. How were they getting funding from Britain at that time? Where were they getting the funding from? Because Babe supposed to MI5 at one point. Okay, let's go. Sipushe. In 1970, from 1970 till 1980, ZANU was not called ZANU. I want to tell you something again.
Sankara, just hold on. When you're born, let me ask you, there are some people who are saying they can't see us. I don't understand. I can see you, Sankara. I can see. I have seen 2 comments here. 1 second. 2 people saying what's going on with the network. Right, guys, can you do us a favor? Can you put amahati la malaikes ngadi sibona yini? Thina siyabonana no Sankara. We can see one another very well. Stella nifake amahati la malaikes. This tell ukuthi liyasibona yini. Can you put mahati la malaikes kana muchituona? Because even the number yethu ingani iyawa. Because I don't know. But me and Sankara, we can see one another. We talk on what's going on with your network? I don't know why. Abantu bati, let's see. Let me do this, Sankara. Let me do this. Once. Right. Can you see us now, guys? Can you see us? Not seeing you.
But it's blank.
It's blank.
They're saying it's blank.
Yeah, a lot of people. We don't care. 1 second. Let's see. I can't see. I don't know why we can't see you guys. Why? What happened? We can only hear what we want to hear. 1 second. Sankara. I don't know. I can see you.
I can see you, but they can't see us. I don't know why.
Right, let me do this again. 1 second. Let me put that Wi-Fi again. This topic we cannot start another broadcast because we are. I don't know why. Right, guys. Let's see again. What do you think now, guys? What do you think now? I can see the number of people. Everyone. I can see Shaka Dube. I can see. What about now, guys? What about now? Yeah. Okay. Right.
They say they're happy to hear.
Okay, let's continue with the way we talk. Yes. We're talking that the computer is on the. Okay. Right. Okay. I see the reason. Right. Yeah. Continue now. Right. Okay. Now I can see the reason.
What's the reason now?
The camera, if you computer. Okay. Right. Continue now. I think it's fine.
Okay. So guys, right. Okay, so let's go. So I was just saying in 19 okay, sakhuluma ngezanu. ZANU then becomes formed, it starts to grow, it starts to benefit small money, support. The main guy who made ZANU to be ZANU today, people from Kenya, people from Tanzania. I know some of you, you may be here, you may be watching, forgive me, but it was your guy, Julius Nyerere. I know Julius Nyerere to some people, he's a hero, but to us as Zimbabwe, that guy is as good as the devil himself. Because Julius Nyerere had a problem with Joshua Nkomo. And his problem with Joshua, he had a problem with Joshua Nkomo and Kenneth Kaunda. Because his problem with Joshua Nkomo and Kenneth Kaunda started in African Union. Julius Nyerere wanted him, and Kwame Nkrumah had some very weird ideas. Kwame Nkrumah once said that he was willing to take Nigeria and turn it into Ghana. And Julius Nyerere at one point wanted to unite Democratic Republic of Congo and Tanzania. And I remember Joshua Nkomo once said, when Kwame Nkrumah made the proposal, Joshua Nkomo said, how can you do such a thing when you and Nigeria have so many different cultures, so many different people? Why people want to control? Nyerere was quite controlling. He had this big brother mentality. That was his problem. So because him and Nkomo didn't see eye to eye, he then started building his own young boy who was his junior, who then became Robert Mugabe. Nkomo was a culture in Tanzania. They find out about tribalism. One point, kwakuliwa impi sokuchisa eZimbabwe. Nkomo lo Mugabe baye Tanzania na lezinye izinkokheli. uNyerere watshela uNkomo wathi ma wena Nkomo usithi wena uyakwazi wena, you are the one who's leading the country, uhlalele la, hamba go to Zimbabwe and get in the action line. Wamxotsha uNkomo wazi wathi uyangixotsha mina uchiya abanye lapho abanjengabo Mugabe. Why? uNyerere wathi wathi phuma elizweni lami, go and fight on the ground. I'm tired of politicians who want to fight becachile emazweni. That was Nyerere for you. Nyerere always had a problem with Joshua Nkomo because another thing, Joshua Nkomo, why lekwazi kule 40% of two. Kule nto eyinye futhi eyakentinte. Kule sitho esithi bazali Nkosi yami. Isitho lesi esesindebele that says uphondo lufela, sorry, ubhejane lufela uphondo lwayo. It's such a beautiful saying, and I always say kuphinde kube lesinye isitho futhi esithi sorry, kule ngoma ababheka uhlelo lozalo lezi labo mangcobo labo bani ingoma ithi isipho somnyumuntu ngeke usenzelu angeke usenzelu amatalent awafa angeke usenzelu amatalent ithi isipho somnyumuntu ngeke usenze lutho amatalent awafani kube lento ethi ubhejane lufela uphondo lwayo. Sometimes guys, I'm not preaching now, I'm not in church, but sometimes you suffer just because of something that is yours. Abantu bafuna ukukulisa ngento evele inye yakho ngoba you are just so wonderful at something. We are told ukuthi wena Dwam Philip Kathesi kulabantu abakuzondayo ngoba wena you are hardworking, you are willing to do lives every day ngoba wena you've got your own equipment, bona bangamavila. Uthola ukuthi mina la njenguSankara so kulabanye abanzondayo ngoba nginje ngiphiwa ukukhuluma kuphela ndanda ukukhuluma wona abaphiwanga kuleso siphiwo. Abantu baze banzonde baze bafisa ukuthi bangifakele ichefu, abanye baze bafisa ukuthi ngabe ifoni yami iyahlife Kathesi ngingakhulumi. People hate you for what you are. Sometimes people hate you because God has given you something that they don't have. Oh, glory to God. uJosepha baze bamthengisa eGibhithe ngamaphupho wakhe wafela iphupho lakhe kuphela uJosepha ukuthi wayelokho ephupho ukuthi obhuti bakhe bazamkhothamela. Atshela ubhuti bakhe ethi lizangikhothamela lina, bathi bafuna ukumbulala. Atshela ubhuti bakhe lizangikhothamela mina, baze bamthengisa befuna ukumbulala. Ubhejane lufela uphondo lakhe. Ngicela likubambe khona lokho namhlanje manje ngilifundisa so. uJoshua Nkomo wafela ukuthi yena, he was such a great character. He was a man that most people thought ukuthi angathatha lo uzahluphe Africa bebulwela khona lokuthi uNyerere, they didn't want somebody who was greater than them. Khona ukuthi uNkomo vele he was a tall guy, a very educated young man. Indoda umafehlefehlo, he was very smiling, ethanda zintombi. Oh, hallelujah. So babemzondela khona lokho bemzondela ukuthi uNkomo was getting so much respect. They jealoused him. uNyerere jealoused uNkomo nje. He feared his stature just as Mugabe feared Joshua Nkomo's stature. Just as the British knew they couldn't negotiate with this guy, they had to get rid of him in 1908. Joshua Nkomo died for just isipho sakhe isiphe nguNkulunkulu enjalo engumqabo kaNyongolo until enjelele yaze yakhulumisana laye. People knew this. uJoshua Nkomo kanti induku, that stick that Joshua Nkomo carried, noziba ukuthi yakuva kuphi. That stick didn't come from his ancestor or his grandfather. He was given that stick by a Shona, the highest of Shona chiefs. This in front of what David Parela labo Robert Mugabe, they said phambi kwakhe bathi nansi induku uzathatha wena ilizwe mfana ngale nduku. He was given he was endorsed not only by the Kalangas but even the Shona chief, the highest of all. Behlangene go eHarare at the National Cultural Festival, wamnikeza induku le, yiko uJoshua Nkomo carried that stick. Yabona into mangikhuluma ukuthi ubhejane lufela uphondo lwayo. uNkomo wafela uphondo lwakhe kuphela ukuthi he was such a great man, such a loving man, such a visionary, such an intelligent young man. Undodo engayisabi ukukhuluma wayengisabi ukuthi athethisane labelungu athi bafana sukumanile, wayengayisabi ukuthi athathe amankazana amancane awafihle ngaphansi kwesandla sakhe avikele isizwe sakhe. That's what he died for, and that's what Nyerere had a problem with. Let me tell you about ZANU-PF. Let me tell you about ZANU, sorry. ZANU was formed. When ZANU was formed, do you know why he was called ZANU? It's because Julius Nyerere, his political party in Tanzania was called TANU, Tanzanian African National Union. So when ZANU wanted to form their party, uNyerere wathi fakanini uzethi libe yiZANU. uNyerere ngokufuna ukubusa kakhulu wayefuna futhi ukuthi amanye amazwe lawo abe create ama parties abo kusiba ngo-anu mawuseswaziland kube nguswanu, mawulapha kube anu, and so on and so forth. Wasponsor uMgabe, wabesponsor uMgabe, elokho encedisa uMgabe. Ngabe wathatha ama-resource lawana wancedisa si-united, we could have taken the country quicker, but wayencitha izaphu enikeza iZANU, encitha izaphu enikeza iZANU all the time. Nyathezela uNkomo phansi. He was the only one who was mainly against uNkomo. Mashele loved Joshua Nkomo. He didn't even know Robert Mugabe. The problem was uNyerere wathi kuMashele, and uNyerere nguyancedisa iMozambique ukuthi be independent. Wathi sebancedisa ukuthi babe independent, wathi Mashele wena kumele usupport uMgabe. This is when Mashele started having ZANUs or ngati umamami who's a Zanda, I know she's watching this, my mother, she went to Mozambique to join there. Elindebele, by the way, or ihlale flapusi, like why lo mashone le wapendo wasekhuluma. You see what I'm talking about? This tribalism didn't even exist in the first place. Okay, so bengikhuluma ngeZanu. IZanu yasifuna kwathiwa yiZanu after iTanzania after Nyerere. Ngo-1970, guys, tribalism kuZanu was so bad. It was so bad that they changed the name of the party. Abanye basebeyibiza bethi yiZatu. ZATU from 1970 to 1979. That's the name that ZANU was called for a long time. Why ZATU? Because ZATU stands for Zimbabwean African Tribal Union. Wakuliwa kunengayenziyo. Waqalisa kuliwa ungafundi abantu laba be-stupid. Wakuliwa amazezuru esilwa namakaranga, amakaranga esilwa namanika. Bengamashona water khona ngale so-called Shona. Sorry, you can't see me anymore. Every time I say the word Shona, I put quotation mark because I don't believe there's such a thing. But just for the sake of ukuthi abantu bazwisise, babesilwa khona ngale besilwa kungokunye kwaze kwafa uHebeshitepo, kwaze kwafa uTongokara, kwafa abantu abaningi bebulalana ngokohlobo ukuthi wena ukhuluma uvela ngapi. Kuzapho lokho kwakungayenzakali. They were not fighting, leaders were not killing each other based on language. That was the ZANU thing again. Yeah, so that's where now I'm talking about that's how it all began. In 1970 they called it ZATU because they were fighting just over ukhuluma yipi language. All that's what ukhuluma yipi language. They were fighting. This was within ZANU. It was instilled within ZANU. It went on within ZANU until we got to independence. Babulala umkarango okugcina kwakuntongokara kwaze kwathiwa amazezuru azathi we are the Zezurus, the unconquerables, and this was Robert Mugabe, the Joyce Mujurus who took over. So ngamazezuru kodwa sebeqedene khona ngale mpini babeqedana empini beliswana ngohlango thina singakulwisi lokho. It was ZANU PF. Now let me get to the tribalism. How did we start hating each other? Because even in the war, the Povo, we were fighting, not fighting on tribe. We're fighting to liberate Zimbabwe. We all went fighting. Zimbabwe. We want to Zimbabwe. Glory to God. I'll show you a very good example. Those who were in the military camps in Mozambique. My mother, she always used to tell me this story because she was there. She was saved from Chimoyo. Utongokara why sitting maying afike ma camp. Efike ati viva ZANU viva beti viva. Eti viva ZANU viva beti viva. Eti viva ZAPU viva beti viva. Eti viva ZIPRA viva beti viva. Eti Mandebele li right yini kutanga khuluma na chama slogan kutabe sithi lina Mandebele muri right ngathi athi bali treata njani abantu laba besitone nabantu bakithi laba andiko kokugcwele predominant ishona zeMozambique ethi bali treata njani utwa Mandebele ngacomplain ethi asiphiwe ukudla kumbe basibandlulula tawutongokara uyababiza bonke one by one. And they will be taken their rations, they will be taken rations from their food, and they will be punished because Tongokara didn't believe in Uti in Ndebele Shona. Ngoba yenu Tongokara himself understood history and culture. Hallelujah. Because Josiah Tongokara, his name is Josiah Makama Tongokara. Again, tribalism is ZANU-PF. Baza mugunchito kwa tongu Josiah Makamba Tongokara. Zitareke arinzi Josiah Makamba Tongokara. It's Josiah Makama Tongokara, not Makamba. That was a ZANU lie again. It was Josiah Makama Tongokara. Kanti uMakama ngubani? uMakama ngamanguni ayesehlala elokuzene eMalawi. Banengi oMakama ngamanguni ngabantu ababaleka bese impi kaNkosi uZwide lonkosi uShaka bahlala eMalawi khona ngani. So umama kaTongokara wayelinguni wayelindebele. So he understood that we are mixed people and we are people of different evele yena eqalise ekuzipra. Let me show you ukuthi how did uSolomon Juru lo Josiah Tongokara sebekuzana bona beqalise bekuzipha. IZANU ngoba yayingena mabutho yayingakwazi ukutrainer. ZIPRA was having soldiers in Russia, China, and so on and so forth. Sorry, Russia, Czechoslovakia, and so on and so forth. What they started doing, they started coaching juniors who were already trained ukuthi babathathe babalethe kuzana bebathembisa izikhundla bethi we are you mwana papa we are pano sakwenza ube ngugeneral. Why are you waiting there ukuze promote ngoba iZIPRA yena koNikita Mandela bebanengi Ambrose Mutinyiri. There were many leaders vele ukuthi la uze ube njalo besebenzisa tribalism babaletha bathi viyanini ngapha uTongokara wabe ngicommand uthi umjuru la wabuya waba ngicommand. That's how it started. That's how it started. So ngisakhuluma nje khona pha abantu bona mfowethu on the ground babengalwi ngohlangothi ngesikhathi sempi. Hayi, it was not about language. Vele sasingazondani ngelanguage. Hayi, into leza yebo kuma camps kwasokungani kuyaphuma kodwa yinto yaqalisa yiZANU-PF. Asambe sesiphusha sesiya ku-1980 sefuna ukukhuluma ukuthi why namhlanje mina lawe sesizondana so. And ngizakwekela ukukhuluma lapho baba Philip lami ngengikho umoya. And then sesisakhuluma ke manje ukuthi why abantu beZimbabwe bengasazwanani khathesi. Lokho kwaqalisa ngo-1980 predominantly. Like I said, the first mayor in Harare was Ndebele guy. The most respected two leaders in Bulawayo at one point, they were Shona guys, Benjamin Burombo, Lord Joseph Msiga, again also, Nkotelo, Jairos Jiri, Jairos Jiri, Lapo Tabengo, Ama Officer Katekona, Bese Jairos Jiri Lapana, he was respected Bulawayo. So I've proven to you, I've proven historically, we intermixed and we didn't have that. When did we start? This was in 1980 when tribalism went crazy. But viewers.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, I would like to say thank you very much for those who are joining us. I know we are very sorry you can't see us, but we can see us, we can see ourselves, and we can see your comments, they are coming in, but we not created the network things and the, but guys, this guy, I am kindly asking if we can do something, guys. If we can have even we can have our own museum in the UK or whatever. We have an office where we can have this boy is that talented into history. I'm telling you guys, he's my young boy. I love him so much. If you want to get hold of this boy, Comrade Sankara, he's a lovely boy, he's a lovely boy. Let's help him, let's build him, let's make sure that this boy we are Palama or we do a documentary, we help him. So, right, for those who are just joining us, we are coming now to 1980 now, towards 80, where Amandebele Lamashona, they started hating one another. So we are coming today. We are having this program. We only allow ourselves to have 2 hours so that we don't want to finish everything today. We want you to call us again for another topic again, because what we have started a journey. So I think in the 1980 now,
yeah, City War 1970. Again, to be thoroughly and totally honest, in 1976, Joshua Nkomo was offered the country by Ian Smith. Ian Smith one offer Nkomo ilizwe because of Nkomo being such a nationalist and being a man who didn't want to leave others behind. But he was very stupid. Nkomo refused to take the country without ZANU. He said, we've been fighting the longest war in Africa, which we did, by the way. The longest war for independence fought in the whole of Africa. It was in Zimbabwe. It was the longest war fought in Africa, mind you. So you must respect yourself. We are very tenacious people, team. If we want to go to war, we are willing to go to war. We can go to war for a very long time. It was the very longest war that we fought. So Nkomo said, I cannot take the country without my comrades. And about this is what delayed ukuthathwa kombuso. Let me fast forward. Then ukuthi kufika 1979. So 1978, powers changed in the Western world. You had a man called Ronald Reagan take over America, and you had a woman called Margaret Thatcher. Theresa May, Margaret Thatcher, same WhatsApp group. You had Margaret Thatcher take over in the UK, a conservative and a Republican. Right. Laba bantu babona ukuthi independence yeZimbabwe sizothutsha. uSmith could not fight. Let me tell you, I met a man in Harare once. He picked me up from the airport and we had a very deep conversation. He was one of those guys who followed Ndabaningi's tour. And he was very hurt about the Kukuraundi thing. You know, he was the one who discussed the topic with me. I didn't even started. He said, you know what happened then? When I think about it, I was around at that time. And how much it was painful for me to see what happened to people in the Western, I don't like to use the word Matabeleland, in the Western province of our country. It was very painful. It was very sad because that's not what we fought for. And to think that we didn't even take that country through war. We took it through negotiation. Then so over absolutely nothing. So that's what broke my heart the most. Was because Mugabe, by the way, he had a massive wathatha abantu bakaNdabaningi Sithole wababulala. That's why Ndabaningi Sithole was running his political party in exile, because people who supported Ndabaningi Sithole were being murdered. This is why today we have Chimanimani and we have Chipinge. That together used to be one district called the Gaza district, but Mugabe split it in half so he could win the elections in Manika, what we call the Eastern Province, Manicaland today. Why Kuma, wachia abanye abantu behlala ngale, abanye behlala ngabe, ngoba imaswingo belong to Ndabaningi Sithole. So that man, what he said then, I'm saying what he said to me because it's very important. Ilizwe lethu lathathwa through negotiations. Smith, what I cannot fight these guys. Which guys was he talking about? It was Izipra. What ZAPU did, which made the British say, we don't want ZAPU to take power. Is ZAPU pure anti-aircraft weapons by Russia. Listen to this again. I want to show you warfare because I'm a bit of a military man myself. Right. The King Lopengula, he would have never been defeated by Osisi John Rhodes if it wasn't for one weapon. Do you know what weapon it was, Philip?
Talking.
Pardon?
If the weapon was mouth to mouth, no weapon, it was mouth to mouth.
Yes. Oh, and that's partly one. The second one, I'm talking about a physical one. There was a weapon that was used to destroy King Lopengula. It was called the Maxim gun. Some of you who support my favorite football team is Arsenal, even though we're not winning anything. Those who watch football, you know what Arsenal has got, that cannon on his chest. Have you seen the cannon?
Yes.
Yeah. That was what we call for that weapon. That weapon was first used and tested in Rhodesia before even the World War. It was tested on Lopengula. Look up the history. That weapon was first used in Matebeleland. Lopengula by the way, because of that weapon. Amatebele but the weapon if you look at the Arsenal logo, it's a cannon. Ngomentshisi igrenade ibisishayithe boo ingathi buya wisa abantu over 300 at one point. So iyaqeda abantu ama-social amabutho amandebele, they couldn't cope with that. Yayibetshaya 300 at a go, 300 at a go, 300 at a go. Kuliwe impi kufe abantu 1000 on the Ndebele side, kodwa abelungu bafe kumbe bengu 30 kumbe bengu 40, because you couldn't come close by. And thina sasili close combat ngomkhonto. So that's what they defeated the Ndebele kingdom with. It was first used, I want you, this is a history lesson for you. The Maxim gun was first used in Matebeleland. It was tested in Matebeleland. Some even say it was illegal to use it there. Rhodes acquired those machinery illegally. It was a weapon of warfare that shouldn't have been used, but it was first tested and used in Matebeleland. Then it became quite popular in the world wars, as I say, Europe and so on and so forth. Okay, weapon.
So you esifana mass missiles of mass destruction is the same.
Yes. So fana la missiles of mass destruction. And the mass destruction, you destruct in masses.
Yes.
Well done, Baba. Yeah. So warfare. Lati ngesikhathi sempi yenkululeko. Izipra lezandra was struggling because Abelung, Rhodesians were using one thing that we didn't have, which was the helicopters and the planes. Babes telling a porridge, abantu go to a porridge, what we acid. Abantu abakwazi ma exandla. Muno ziba kutkana wanga mutiti muri Mozambique. They used porridge by Chimoyo. If you remember Chimoyo, the song says yes. That Chimoyo was that helicopter which was spitting acid on young children. A very painful thing that they did. They put acid on young children, and acid, when it touched your skin, you had to run and rub sand, or else it will run through your bloodline line so quick. So that was the acid that was used in Chimoyo against defenseless young girls. And that angered a lot of our revolutionaries. They were so angry. My mother personally survived that one. Okay, Zipra with Mkushi camps, where they bombed the camps. Unkomo was Suguma, Wakala Ubaba Unkomo, those who saw the video, Ubaba Joshua Unkomo, Wakali Nyembezi, Wabamba Metrotim Tanami, Balitangani, Bantabami, Abantana, Batibabu, the Bas Bomba, or Sisabana 12, that was the Rhodesians. They were thriving on using helicopters, and we couldn't bring the helicopters down because we didn't have the weaponry to bring the helicopters down. It was then when Zipra was warfare, weaponry warfare. The war changed. Very quick. Russia system anti-aircraft. Omalume bamabanye babe train Czechoslovakia, abanenge abatrain Czechoslovakia khona ngale babe train ngabe ngama anti-aircraft commanders. Yiko baba ku train la khona lunkomo wabathuma athi 5 years amale trainer lephenduke ngoba kumele sikhithize ama from China now. Ngifuna ukuthathela history le manje uluze uthi Dabengo kwakhuluma ngakho kabanzi. When we found this anti-aircraft, when Zipra was given this anti-aircraft, Tabengwa, Ambrose, Mutiniri, Mame Wakawanda, they sourced these weapons. When we got them, we started dropping planes. This is why the Rhodesians couldn't fight us anymore. One, they didn't have the numbers. Two, they didn't have the masses. All they had was the planes and the Seller Scouts. When we started dropping the planes, it was game over. Again, he used to speak, Joshua Nkomo, the one Joshua Nkomo we know now is very quiet. But the Joshua Nkomo of old was he was a loud mouth. He was very vibrant when he spoke. So there was some of you may know about the Viscount plane when we wanted to drop General Peter Walls, and there were other Rhodesian generals where Zipra had received information that they were getting on a certain plane. And last minute, these generals, they decided to or lunch, and they decided to take a later plane. The information didn't leak through to the Zipras, and the Zipras thought we want to teach them a lesson. It was their first attacking a locals and anti-craft. They wanted to just end the war once and for all. But the army commander, Smith, what happened when they changed the plane? Civilians were put on that plane. Hold it right there. I want you to understand something. If I'm not mistaken, Theresa May's family were on that plane as well. When that plane was dropped, the Zipras dropped that plane. And when they dropped it, when they asked Joshua Nkomo, they famously, Mr. Joshua Nkomo, how did you drop these planes? I think there's a video of it somewhere. And Joshua Nkomo said, we used sophisticated stones. What is he trying a match? And that angered the British to a point where they could never ever forgive Zipra and Zapu again. British civilians, Lama Rhodesians, and that plane, Joshua Nkomo made fun of it, and he said they dropped it with sophisticated stones. But mind you, we're in the middle of war, and as much as the Rhodesians were mocking Zapu, Zapu was mocking them back. Because when the Rhodesians realized that Zapu and Zipra had anti-aircraft weapons, they said, we don't want the war anymore. But let's sit down and talk. But Nkomo refused until Omkabe was released because they were arrested. He said, release them, let them bring them to the table. So I cannot take this country and take the credit by myself. This is when Mugabe, Ndabaning Stole, and others were released, and then we went to what we called the Lancaster House Agreement after that. But it was just because the Rhodesians gave us the country because they realized that they couldn't fight us anymore. Tina Lati, for once as Africans, we found a weapon that changed the warfare. So I wanted you to grasp that so you know that our independence was taken through negotiation, number one. And the reason why the negotiation came to the table is because Zipra was about to launch, it was called Operation, I can't remember what it was called. It was an operation which was going to go from Zambezi all the way into inland and wipe all the Rhodesians. So they knew they couldn't stand a chance, and they wanted to keep their farms, and they knew their families were now in danger because they were killing our families, were they not? And now it was their families and their communities were in danger. So now they had to come and negotiate. He would rather die than see a black man rule Rhodesia. We took the country when we called it Zimbabwe. You understand? So at that time, Zimbabwe, Rhodesia, babezama ukuthi bethi asihlanganise nini sithi iZimbabwe Rhodesia sathi no sifuna sithi iZimbabwe. We will not name our country after Cecil John Rhodes, who stole our land from our ancestors. These were our leaders, the caliber of leaders we had in Zimbabwe. So sifike ke ku-1980 sesikhuluma nge-tribalism again. I needed to give you a backstory. So this is why the British said from now on we will not support the ZAPU, but ukuthatha ama-resources abo sebesiya ngaphi uMgabe, and they chose to work with the ZANU-PF because of what the ZAPU did with those planes and dropping the planes. Another reason why the British ngilitshele something ekade ngiyitshile, I just wanted to alert you. Mind you, ndakakutaura ndakakuunza kuti ku-America the president was now Ronald Reagan, and ndati ku-UK the president wangari Margaret Thatcher, and Margaret Thatcher was against the Russians and the Cubans. He was against communism and socialism because you were Philip unogara pano anditi. So you know kuti the conservatives they hate socialism. They would rather have any type of labor except Jeremy Corbyn labor because it's the far left. You know that, you know it. That's why Jeremy Corbyn, they'll do anything for him not to get into power because they don't want anything that is as left as socialism and communism. Okay, and remember we were in the middle of the Cold War. Mozambique was taken by a socialist, Usamora Machel. Angola was under Augustine Neto, who was a socialist. Zambia was under Kenneth Kaunda, who was a socialist. Zimbabwe was about to come under Joshua Mqabuko Nyongolo, who was because he was the most popular leader in Zimbabwe. Everybody knows that. I don't need to explain that. Everybody knew Joshua Nkomo in Zimbabwe. It was again about to become a socialist country. Now, I need you to understand that these presidents were the ones who changed the ball game, because when they came into power, they said, no, we cannot allow ZAPU to take over because they had a problem with Nelson Mandela in South Africa. This is why when you saw at the funeral of Commander-in-Chief, may God rest his soul, Utumiso Tabengwa, sithe lapana simbeka, bekula abantu be-ANC, bebekhona, kodwa abantu abakhulumileyo bathale toyi lamazipra ngumkhonto wesizwe. Because let me tell you something again, Kukuraundi was a little less about tribalism. It was more about stopping ANC taking over South Africa. Tina safela ANC emathebeleland. Most of us, we died for the liberation of South Africa. This is why I feel so painful and so hurt when South Africans are xenophobic towards our brothers, because we were killed, our cows were taken because of them. Kandi ama weapons must armed catches lawa. Who were those armed catches for? Zipra had said we will hide some weapons for the MK cadres. Operator. My father was speaking to my father just last week, and he was saying to me, once bengabantwana babona ubuya amazipra engu5 babona omnye undodo oyebomvu so kodwa wayengakwanisa ukukhuluma isindebele wayekhuluma isuthu basala bezibuza ukuthi kanti umuntu lo ukidnaphiwe kumbe umuntu lo uhamba lawo. Those were MK cadres who were working with zebras. Sasithatha 1 or 2 sibafundisa ukuthi labo babele experience. Their first war, Chris Hani said, was in Hwange. They fought their first battle in Zimbabwe and they were operating in Zimbabwe. So Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan didn't want ANC to take over in South Africa. They were calling Nelson Mandela a terrorist. Nelson Mandela was under terrorist watch until 1994, for those who know again. So that was just, they didn't want to see another a socialist party that, and West, they knew what MK was being trained by Zipra. So they needed to get rid of his up. Okay, let's go to 1980. Kuthe 1980 lapana sokubuya ku Lancaster House talks. Guys, history le inengi kakhulu. I hope people are following. So when we go to the Lancaster House talks in 1980, the British and Americans called Mugabe behind closed doors. But when ngokumele uthathe over, ngoba uMgabe, of course, ZANU and ZAPU wanted the land, but the British didn't want us to keep the land when we take independence. And it was a conservative government. Those who follow my lives, you understand why they signed the list. The British, the whites must live on the land for 10 years. While we contract Galo Pengula, expire on 1989. It was signed, so it's a 100-year lease. So the British wanted to ensure that that 100-year lease lasted for at least 10 years. That's why by you allow us to keep the land, and that was the agreement. Whereas we all fought for the land. The reason why we went to fight was because for for the land. This is why the song goes, Mbuyane anda kuvava chishereketa kuti tichatora seinyika ino sokorimwe wakati unza tora kiti msitonge. Angiti ngomicho njalo pati tamanya muhondo shuwa here takamanya manya nepamsango takatora anti kuti rushinji ruswitonge. It was all about the land. And Tombokara, this is when Tombokara chose for Joshua Nkomo to lead rather than Mugabe, because he realized that Mugabe was starting to sell out the idea of fighting for the land.
Let's promote this boy. Let's make sure that this boy is promoted. I always bring talent. I always bring talent. A young boy is taking another time and
yeah. So good thing on 1980 lapana ke ama government lawa sebuyile sebebonile ukuthi abafuni ukuthi ZAPU ithathe over, sebebonile futhi ukuthi abafuni ukuthi ANC ivuke ngale South Africa ngoba amabhunu ase South Africa ayesesebenza ke manje le Israel, le America, le Britain kwangasiyo Labour Party phela. Angithi abantu amalungu eMDC bakwathi iLabour Party yathi sebuya yathi fork of Mugabe asivumelanga lawe wena ngendaba yeland. uTony Blair wayalo kubhadala wasokuqalisa ke impi kaTony Blair Robert Mugabe. Hayi uRobert Mugabe vele lama conservatives same WhatsApp group liyakubona namhlanje Emerson Mnangagwa lama conservatives, they are making many deals even till today. It's because that relationship between ZANU and conservatives, it goes long way back until since 1980. Kuthe sokubika ngo1980 ke sokuyisikhathi sokuthi sokuthathwa ke ilizwe. uMgabe wathi ngizayiwina njani i-election la wayesedzingure omunye okuthiwa nguNdabaningi Sithole wamthathela isikhundla. uNdabaningi Sithole wagcina last minute esefome iparty yakhe okuthiwa yiZANU Ndonga. Ngakayi khona lapho kuthe sifika kuma negotiations, Mugabe was not negotiating in good faith with Joshua Nkomo. The agreement was that they will come together and rally together and contest the election as the patriotic front. Okay. Kanti the British are there behind closed doors with Julius Nyerere, by the way, tipping Mugabe that no, you must go it alone. Mugabe said, how can I win the election because I'm not even popular? The most popular leader at one point is Ndabaningi Sithole for ZANU and it's Joshua Nkomo for ZAPU. They said, no, you can win it. All you need to do is just say, everybody who doesn't live in Matabeleland is Shona, and you divide the country in half. But by the way, right, if you do the demographics, majority Shona, quote unquote, Shona speaking people are the majority in Zimbabwe. Divide them that way and you'll be able to at least win. And Babengatutus are winner. Obviously, you will get at least about 40% of the vote. Let me explain something to you. There was a problem, a big problem. The problem was in Mashonaland West, it was ZAPU. It was not ZANLA. ZAPU was the most respected, the most loved in Mashonaland West. Why? Because Mashonaland next is right next to Zambia. So all the ZAPU cadres will go to Mashonaland West, but Kempe Konapana, they need to be cross Zambia, cadres up. So that was the ZAPU controlled area. So before 1979, what happened? They started, before the elections, they started attacking ZANU. They were sending abantu besiyachaya abantu beshone bebatrapa munofana kuvotera ZANU yiko lapha amapungo lawa aqalisa khona futhi towards election batrapa abantu kanti ama Britishers ayenzani. I want to show you another thing. They were the first people who taught ZANU-PF to rig elections. Let me tell you something. ZANU-PF have never won an election in Zimbabwe since 1980. I want to tell you this again. You can look it up if you think Sankara is lying. They have never won an election since the election in 1980 was rigged by the British supporting Robert Mugabe. Even Joshua Nkomo complained about the election. The agreement at Lancaster House, by the way, was if any party uses violence to intimidate, that area would be nullified. You understand? The first area where violence was found, where Joshua Nkomo sent a letter to the British Lord Soames and Lord Carrington, saying there's violence here. Abantu babulawa eManicaland like nobody's business. Why? Because Manicaland is next to Mozambique. So ZANLA sent it to not everybody they wanted to vote ZANU. Some wanted to vote Innocent Kala, some wanted to vote ZAPU. That is where the most election violence started in 1980. It was Manicaland and Mashonaland West provinces. But when Nkomo sent that report, they didn't nullify the results. As a matter of fact, they rigged the results and gave them to ZANU-PF. See, figure 1980 most people or our elders who are watching this video, they will tell you they were so shocked to hear that this guy called Robert Mugabe, they've never even heard about him, became president. I'm telling you, I spoken to the elders, my neighbors, the kaya ngakula labo kokwam wathi sasingamazi lo Mugabe lo, sasingakwazi ukuthi kulo muntu othiwa ngumgabe. Na sasikwazi undaba ningi sithole. We were so shocked ukuthi kuthiwa kulo muntu omgabe he's won the election out of nowhere. It was the British, the Americans, the Chinese, and the Tanzanians who helped the ZANU to win that election using, by the way, tribalism. Mugabe was a propaganda machine. I want you to understand. Mugabe sent a propaganda machine saying these were the things until today. Lingang Fagazela there in the comments. You can even be my witness here in the comments. This is when tribalists start arguing. Mugabe sent this propaganda. It's still existing namhlanje. One, Lopengula sold the country for sugar. Number two, that Mzilikazi stole all the beautiful Shona women. And this is why Ndebele women are so beautiful. Number three, that Mzilikazi raided and treated Shona people as slaves and killed their kings and so on and so forth. This was the propaganda. And number four, the propaganda was Joshua Nkomo was trying to start and develop a war against Shona people in Zimbabwe. This is when you see the videos in 1980, people were saying, we will order Mugabe, we don't want war in our country, we want peace here. This Joshua Nkomo must go. That was Robert Mugabe's propaganda. But Alisage, Severikama election, they won the war. Let's start 1980. Impi sesithathile. Sijabule namhlanje sithethe iZimbabwe. Sijabule namhlanje sithethe yithi laba. Everybody was happy sesithethe iZimbabwe. So ku celebrate uLookout Masuku wahamba ekobulawayo wafika wa lift flag represent iZimbabwe. Joshua Nkomo waze wakhala inyembezi bakithi sesithathile ilizwe National Heroes Eka wahlala umdala wayihlengezela inyembezi eyedwa ngoba buhlungu ebona laba masela nansi ingoma yazaphuma wakhala uJoshua Nkomo baba buhlungu ilizwe salithatha lalela amagolo
We have got a teacher, we have got a lovely boy who is teaching us tribalism. Comrade Sankara. Get used to this boy, I'll be doing a lot. I'm going to introduce this boy. I'll try by all means. What you gonna FPPC program. Continue, young man.
So when you see this ilizwe lapha sesithi oh iZimbabwe sikhululekile noma babe sirobhile unkomo wayekwazi ukuthi izapho irothiwe ngempela wabhalela abelungu eBritain wathi lina yinathi le oversee ama elections aliboni ukuthi kurothiwe lapha abantu laba behlukumezwa ama-British ayenze ngani babengaboni ngoba bona vele babele yabo iplan. USmith le apartheid system wanted to stop Zipra and Mkhonto alliance. Somebody said there. The British wanted to stop the Zipra and Mkhonto alliance. Let me tell you, Ian Smith and General Peter Walls both said, with the Zipra, give me Zipra and Mkhonto, I will take the whole of Africa. There was no military machine as great as Zipra. I'm telling you, there was no army in Africa that was created as great as Zipra. Usmith Wakulmanjano, Peter Walls, who was fighting against this man, said the same thing. He said, I can take up the whole of Africa with Zipra and Umkhonto Sizwe alone. These guys were military geniuses. Lingaboni uDumiso Dabengwa kuthiwa yi-Black Russian. Let me tell you something. The reason why Dumiso Tabengo is called the Black Russian is because he passed military training in Russia and his education in Russia, speaking the Russian tongue. Continue. Yeah. Nipinde footing it. Udumiso Tabengo, by the way, was the most trained soldier in Africa at one point. There was no soldier in Africa who was trained above him. I'm talking about intelligence, I'm talking about the military, I'm talking about SAS, special forces. This man was trained and was carrying he was the most trained soldier in Africa at one point. Google it if you don't believe me. So Zipra had a very strong military machinery that was making the whole world tremble. Okay. Let me push forward. So good thing 1980 ke laphana ke sesilithethiliswe abantu even though babelithethe ngokuropa. By the way, angithi ngibengithe khona ukuthi kwakumele sithathe ilizwe siyi-patriotic front, but uMgabe uthe sesiphenduka ku-Lancaster House laphana isikhathi sama-elections sokuprintwa ama-t-shirts sokuprintwa yonke into. uMgabe nangu uthi se-register izanu. Zapu last minute to change their campaigns, change their t-shirts, changed everything. Ukuthi bawine barotshwa futhi iBritain yabancedisa ukuthi barika ama-election. Batata over 1980. Let me tell you something. In 1980, the first embassy to be set up in Zimbabwe was the American embassy. Why? What did America do for us? What did America to deserve an embassy when we had Mozambique, Cuba, Russia, and these countries who helped us in Tanzania? But they gave it to the Americans because Mugabe had made that agreement with them. Okay, fast forward. Umgabe, remember, he grew up in Ghana. He did his education in Ghana. That's where he met Umfazo Otong Sali Mugabe.
Yeah.
So, when he was in Ghana, he met Sally, and Sally was she was part of Kwame Nkrumah's revolutionary movement. He watched the revolution of Ghana. This is why izanu yathi sithatha over 1980 yayisebenza iJongwe. Lakwazi ukuthi iJongwe lelana lavela ku-party kaNkwame Nkrumah. He used that logo as his own because he idolized Nkwame Nkrumah to some extent, and he lived in Ghana. Ijongo lelana likaNkwame Nkrumah lithathwe ku-Malcolm X, owathi when the sun comes up you cannot stop the cock from singing. So Umgabe wayefuna iZimbabwe eyistyle sikaNkwame Nkrumah, which was what you call a one-party state. Ngobuthutha kwakhe engakwazi ukuthi uNkwame Nkrumah ama-Ghanaians amxotsha elizweni amthathela ubukhosi ngendaba yokuthi wayesefuna ukuthi abe le one-party state. Abantu beGhana babefuna i-democracy. They didn't want a one-party state. And Robert Mugabe, of course, wayefuna i-one-party state. Okay, besakhuluma ngeZipra loMkhonto. Kwasokusiba le nkinga ama-British asithi kuMgabe, you need to remove this ZAPU because they are already funding Mkhonto Sizwe. All the anti-aircraft we had, all the guns we had, we were giving them to Mkhonto. Everything. So Mkhonto now was becoming as good as Zipra. Even Zipra is very strong. Very Mkhonto already and so on and so forth. So now the plan was we need to destroy any opposition. Mugabe wanted to destroy all opposition parties. He didn't want an opposition to him. It was beneficial to him, number one. Number two, it was beneficial to the British because as long as ZAPU was there, it meant that ANC were going to liberate themselves in South Africa, and they didn't want that. And neither did the apartheid regime. You got to ukusebenza labo Ken Flower, we're ex-roadies, bringing in the CIOs, select about Billy Rottenberg. By the way, Billy Rottenberg was the only white farmer who didn't get his farms taken away from him. He has been sponsoring and funding ZANU-PF from 1980 till today. That was Billy Rottenberg. So Mugabe started building relations lalaba malunga ANC engasabafuni Zimbabwe. Asambe 1983. O Innocent Kala kubi intumbane, kubi la lokho, kubi ama elections ka 1985. Let me tell you why Guguraundi started. Angithi ngikhulume nge-tribalism.
Yeah.
Ngikhulume ngokuthi uMgabe spent millions and time, used the radio stations to spew up propaganda. Ukuthi amandebele, they were not willing to leave. These Mandebeles wanted to start. They didn't want to. They were sore losers. They didn't want to. First, he said the ZAPU was a Ndebele party. The first propaganda, that was a lie. ZAPU was not a Ndebele party. There was only in 1980 there was only 2 Ndebeles within ZAPU. The rest were Kalanga and Mashona people. So he said ZAPU is a Ndebele party. Then he said Lopengula sold the country for sugar. Then he said Mzilikazi stole all the beautiful women. That's why Ndebele women are beautiful, which is absolute nonsense. The reason why they are beautiful is because of the Koi blood, the Abata. Okay, Nipile putting it number 4. He also said Mzilikazi wanted inkomo zakibo and so on and so forth. He started polarizing the country. Then people and started looking down. And why is it just Tete? That's why Nkomo at Joshua, when Joshua Nkomo spoke at T.G. Slundiga, George Slundiga's funeral, he said, we must stop this thing of majority. There's no such thing as majority. Why is it we are the majority. We need to deal with these Ndebeles. We are the majority. We need to deal. There's no such thing as majority. Can we kill this majority mentality? Fast forward. Bubi Ntumban. Then so we are in 1984. Why did Guguraundi start? Because 1, they didn't want ZAPU funding ANC and MK. And number 2, most importantly, Umgabe wayefuna ukuconvince abantu he wanted to beat us to death. That's what he wanted to do. So we could vote ZANU-PF. So that whole, remember in 1983 till 1985, Guguraundi was at its peak. It was a way to make people to not vote for ZAPU and choose to vote for ZANU, and then create what was going to be a one-party state, because Mugabe needed what you call the 2/3 majority in order to create that one-party state. But the Matebeleni was always a problem for him because he was always pro-ZAPU. Ngifuna futhi ukuthi ngithi abakhokho bethu labogogo bethu abafa ngesikhathi seGuguraundi, they must be respected, because let me tell you something. Even after what Mugabe did, calling curfews, you remember people, food was stopped from reaching Matebeleni for 4 years. People couldn't access food, Emma Reserve. They couldn't access food. Food was banned. It was, what's this thing? Oxfam. Oxfam was the one that played a critical role in stopping Guguraundi, because they couldn't send their charity stuff to Matebeleni either, because Umgabe wayeko blocking. This is when they started exposing indaba ye Guguraundi, because the Lawe charity abenga sayenza imali. By the way, it was a personal gain thing with Judy Todd. I'll teach about Judy Todd another time, who was very key in stopping Guguraundi in Zimbabwe. That Guguraundi was because Mugabe wanted a 2/3 majority, and he wanted the people of Matebeleni to vote ZANU-PF. But bebachaye benjalo Philip, abantu bakithi bayala, bayivotela iZAPU. Yiko kubuhlungu, mina I'm a member of ZAPU. I'm young, of course. But when I go and visit the elders, bakutshela bethi mina mfana ungazongitshela ngeZAPU, mina ngayivotela iZAPU mina. Ngama ngikhuluma ngize ngizubuhlungu. Omnye indoda wazathi ngathenwa mina njengenkomo mina, mfana. Bangithena njengenkomo mina. Ngangiyindoda ethandwa ngamajaha, ngangilijaha elathandwa abafazi mina. Bangithena njengenkomo mina, azange ngizale mina ngendaba yeZAPU yena nona mfana, wena mfana. Sayifela iZAPU, abantu mangikhuluma songihlekeza inyembezi, it's so painful. Abantu bayifela iZAPU, bayivotela iZAPU bebulawa kunjalo. Ngo-1984, 1985, 1986. Umgabe yena efuna ukuthi abe le-one party state. Those who watch the videos, you know Emma video Guguraundi, the British army was there in Zimbabwe operating when they were killing our brothers. The Tanzanian army was there when they were killing our brothers. The North Korean army was there when they were killing our brothers. The South African apartheid regime was there when they were killing our brothers. That was just to create a one party state.
Sankara, just one second. Listen to this.
The life of George Slundiga.
Nancy video corner here.
but about the people. Why is that? If we have lived a little long, do anything that will divide our people as people. This is one of the evils that we have got to fight against. It is not a fight for eternity. God himself.
That was Joshua Nkomo talking in the funeral of George Spudiga, talking about exactly what. Yes, continue, young man. I'm just making a reference.
Thank you so much for the. Yeah. No, thank you so much for the evidence. Baba, it's very important. If you watch the video, he was crying. He was very, very hurt about this thing. He didn't understand what was going on. We fought many years. See, united. Started Zimbabwe together as children of Zimbabwe because we understood we always lived together before. That's why I took you through history. But just figured out when majority, minority, or Slundika could have lived longer in his life, but he committed his life to change this country. What's going on? Why haven't we come on? This is not what we're fighting for. This was that the ZANU-PF was pushing. But again, in the way identity lives when was pushing that, they were enjoying it because they wanted to associate themselves by what told about benefit. Nobody wanted to be in Devere. Then he was like, I don't want to be that. I want to be Shona. They were enjoying it at one point. Not all of them, of course, but some people were buying into the agenda, and Mugabe was pushing that propaganda. In tribal, guys. In 1986, Mugabe realized Matebele will never vote him, no matter what he does. No matter what keep his issue, what retro Bantuana, what retro Mamos is betu, Abanabantana, Namsanja Bazelo, what Duve, and develop what Duve, when a Barreto, a fifth brigade, Mama Babu, cooling young into Zonkas, Imchato, Yapela, Banova, Sakwanis, Ubona, Logulala, Lava Fast Babo, Yen Lava isn't to send ever fast in Bab. After all of that, people still voted ZAPU, and Mugabe realized that he couldn't beat the people. He could not make the people succumb. This is when tribalism became even more polarized, because then our people abantu besindebele babona i5th brigade eyabuya ikhuluma isishona bebulala baba. They started to hate each other, and this is why today when you find people who saw Kukrawundi, they have this bad vibe and this bad feeling towards Shona people. And it's not because it was Shona people, it was Shona speaking people. Let me rephrase this. It was not Shona people, it was Shona speaking people. Shona people did not commit Kukrawundi. Mugabe organized a brigade of young men whom he got drunk and alcoholized, and they were all speaking Shona. It doesn't mean all of them were Shona. I'm supporting Obabunkomo in that, because Obabunkomo realized something. Which, if you say it was Shona people, you are saying Wonga Mashona were involved in Kukrawundi. No, it was Shona speaking people who were in the 5th brigade, the 5th brigade, which was led by Robert Mugabe. They were the ones who came and killed our fathers and our mothers. And this Mugabe tried to recreate again with the Green Bombers. The Green Bombers was a remake of the 5th brigade. That's what it was, for those who know politics. So from that time on, because ZANU-PF Lokibusa, this one when I talk about my country, I say my country is wounded and broken. Guys, they can't even talk about these things. They can't even open up about it. They haven't even had a chance to bear it. Guys, you need to really think about it. They don't know what they can't even talk about it. They are still hurt. But because ZANU-PF, they haven't allowed people to come out in the open and talk about these things. It's only now that some people are talking about it. This is where our country started hating. Amashona ngezanu propaganda, labantu besindebele ngezanu propaganda. He drove a wedge between our people. Khona lokho ukuthi kubuye abantu abavela kwenye region bezohlala esigabeni sethu, bafike bangakhuluma ulimi lwethu, bafike basihlukumeze, kuthi bathatha ama-flats ethu, like what is going on in Flabusi areas and so on and so forth. Or Chief Ndiweni besilwa ngakho khona lokho. That's Mugabe, that's ZANU-PF again, trying to build division amongst people. Later abantu bazo thunuka abanye izilonda, abanye bangareacta. So it's always a constant fighting. ZANU-PF realized that as long as the people of Zimbabwe are united, they can never rule the country. They have to keep dividing us and dividing us and dividing us in order for them to take over this country. We are all suffering in Zimbabwe now, guys. Everybody, we are so We are all suffering, but we are still divided by a stupid thing, by tribalism. Tribalism doesn't exist. Shona and Ndebele is not a tribe, it's a language. Our people never discriminated over each other because of language. They never did it. We lived together, we accommodated each other. We were happy to change our surname to a different language because we didn't discriminate. We valued our mankind. We realized we're the children of Ntu. Tiribanu, Tiribantu, we are the children of Ntu. So we were never like that. Even our liberation heroes, they all worked hand in hand. We were willing to be led. MDC ayisoze yafakhokhelwa lindebele ukuthi kuze kuthiwe kumele kulethe umuntu weshoneni bathatha uSwangirayi ukuze MDC ikhole ukuze uGift ngoba Gibson Sibanda apparently could not win Zimbabwe. That by itself is wrong, because if the leader is capable, it doesn't matter what language you are. I hear people saying, hey, no, it's not like that. It was never like that. It doesn't matter what language you speak. You are capable to lead the country as long as your capability. This is our ancestors. This is how they worked. This is how they lived amongst each other. What we are doing, we are just doing what ZANU-PF and the whites did. The whites only separated us, but ZANU-PF made us hate each other. That's what they did. But it made people even more angry. I'm not excusing the tribalism. I'm not excusing the hate, but I'm trying to show you where the hate began. They were duped to thinking that Ndebeles were these type of people. Please, guys, if you watch my lives and my history, you will know that Mzilikazi never killed no Shona King. It was Nyamazana Dlamini and Uzwangendaba who killed Utangamire Tombo. Mzilikazi wabuya wabusa lo mambo ikingomi sithi kudala kwakunganje umhlaba uyapenduka kwakubusa umambo lo Mzilikazi. They lived together, they ruled together. There were two kings who lived together and ruled together. So when we look at that, you realize that tribalism never existed. It only exists now. Ngezilonda zonke lezi esilazo. Nokuthi iZANU-PF yona ngokufona ngo1963, it was a tribal party. It has always been a tribal party. Kade sokulo mnankakwa sokukhulunywa kuthiwa hey makaranga hoye amazezuru sephansi. Every time it's got to do with tribe and color. Tina, we don't. Let me tell you, within ZAPU, we don't even know. Ngubani okwazi ukuthi Dabengo uyini? Akula umuntu okwaziyo. Likhalanga, lindebele ungantshela wena baba Khathesi. Ungantshela Philip. What is Dabengo? Is it Ndebele?
I don't know.
Akula umuntu okwaziyo. Nobody cares. And the same as Joshua Nkomo. People thought he was Kalanga. Some people thought he was Ndebele, Pool Ndebele. But he was a Soto man. Nobody really cared. It's the same as Joseph from Siga. I mean, I grew up thinking he was a Ndebele guy. But no, he was a guy from Emashonaland East. So these wounds, ZANU-PF has been the cause of tribalism in Zimbabwe. They are the propagators and the chiefs of tribalism in Zimbabwe. They were the ones who changed what we are fighting for to achieve their own personal goal in 1980. They chose to divide united people in order for them to keep power. They carry on to choose to unite, they carry on choose to divide our people in order to carry on in power. This is all the doings and the works of ZANU-PF, my fellow comrades. They didn't live like that. This is ZANU-PF who started this, and it's ZANU-PF who have pushed it because it benefits only ZANU-PF. When njengomuntu wase Zimbabwe, iwe seman semun wantwa someone wantu natwa semwana wamambo namzilikazi unofanele kuziba ukuthi iwewe uri muZimbabweni uri mwana wantu, you are an African. This tribe thing, we never had it within our people, and you find that you are just a clan. You are not even a tribe. You are not even an ethnicity. Uri mwana wako Sibanda kumbu wako Vundla kumbu wako Moyo kumakuthiwa ngowako ngoba ngubaba wakho ngowako muzi lo onje. You understand what I mean? Those who follow my cultural shows, you will understand. I've got 21 hours of footage teaching about this. So we were never tribalist. Tribalism started with ZANU-PF, and also nationally it started in 1980 through ZANU-PF propaganda, and today we are still seeing the remnants of it, and our people are fighting Moyos against Moyos when they are all the same clan. It's so stupid. Just because when Moyo khulumisa Ndebele susula lo Moyo khulumishona ngoba wena uhlale elokuzeni eblupane omunye uhlale ebhinga. It's so stupid. It's so ridiculous. banu be-Africa bantwana beZimbabwe ngicela kusasa uma uhamba usiye emashophu ungahlangana nomuntu ekhuluma isiShona ngicela umbingelele uthi sabona mamuka sei masora seiko naye mwana 1 2 likhulumisane ngoba ngumfowenu lo lawe kana iwe unotaura Shona kana ukawana mndera achimhana or achifamba nemhuri yake stop and greet him and say hello my brother, hello my sister, how are you? Andigone kutaura ndebele ngiyazama la ukhekerezisa indebele ukhulume. We accommodate other ngoba sasingabantu. When you need a favor, you must learn. You are willing to learn. We are here, manje, me, you, and Philip. Me, you, Philip. We are speaking English right now because we need a favor in the UK. I cannot come to the UK and speak in Debele here. Nobody will employ me. I cannot go to Pakistan and speak Shona. Nobody will employ me. I must learn the language there. Lami yiko isangelo sami esine ngithi ngilisilile enkosi elahlanganisa izizwe zabensundu labelungu ngobolo ngoba that's what I did. I united the nations of black and white with this small thing or this big thing or peanuts. So I'm talking about these things here. I'm trying to teach people ukuthi we people, we never had this problem and we should not have it now. We as Zimbabweans, we are all united, guys. Our leaders, they were all united. Unity. Unity number one. Because we are united people. When I feel you are a Sutu, you are a Sutu there. I'm not Ndebele, I'm a son of Twa, and when I speak to other people, when I meet them, I say you are not Shona you class yourself according to what you are. Don't let a colonialist who didn't understand our history be the ones who say who you are. Don't let them tell you who you are. You know who you are as an African. Class yourself on your own identity. That's what I would advise. Thank you so much, guys.
Right, I give you only 2 minutes. So what is the way forward in tribalism? What is the way forward? How can you win this thing, my brother? Just in 2 minutes, how can you win this tribalism?
The issue of tribalism, how can we destroy it?
How can we win? And and one day you say, we used to have tribalism in Zimbabwe, but I'm so glad that we used to because so what's the way forward for tribalism? I know, or else we'll do it on another day because but I think. Do you think there's going to be any change towards our love and whatever? Do you think the change into tribalism in Zimbabwe?
There will be a change. We were never divided. We have just been divided by a group of people who continue and will continue to divide us as long as we live and as long as we allow them to.
Every individual can change himself after listening to this.
You can change yourself. Yes, it begins with you. That's why I say tomorrow when you go to Tesco's. I've never been in Tesco's or anywhere, and I hear people talking. Even if you call me Tonga, but I would rather, if I recognize, I'll greet you. This is the knowledge, how I accumulate the knowledge. Do you know, trying to seclude yourself, you lose so much. You lose so much. You won't learn anything. We are I've learned so much from just talking to people irregardless. I was in a shop the other day. I was working in Manchester. Zimbabwe. They just love me from there. But history and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. These things, because if you seclude yourself, you have nothing to gain. You have nothing to learn. Let me finish with this. Look, learn something from him. When Inkosi Mziligas came to Western Province, Zimbabwe, Inkosi Mziligas, why are worship religion? Did you know that? No. Why are worship religion? SSC worship namhlanje. Why he learned that from the Shona people. He realized that their God was so mighty and so powerful. He said, I'm going to see you later, brother. What I am willing to worship your God. Take me to Njelele, teach me your ways. Wazo wahlonipha umurenga Sorensanzo lokuzeni ngathi gini ngathi ngumdzimu washona. He even respected murenga. Wazo wathi letha nini limfundisa imfihlo zenu zonke. Whatsoever you need me to do, I will respect it. Lamatonga yiwamela phayo anti sechaye lokuzeni ngamatsese flies ngale. Wahle wabahlonipha wathi lihamba lami lina uchief pashu okhona namhlanje la kwakuyinduna uthongibani induna yama okwacina sokuthiwa nguwange induna yamanambia yamdonsa yomzilikazi yamhambisa ihamba imdonsa wabahlonipha njalo. You respect each other. And let me tell you, we are all one people. We all came from Egypt at one point. We went to Western Africa, we went to Central Africa, and then we came down south. Abelungu baza basitshela bathi singabantu people, we are Bantu people. This thing of we just speak different languages. Zwanini shona lesindebele kwesikhathi siyafana na vele ngoba ilanguage yethu lesiswahili lesiCongolese same WhatsApp group. We are the same people, just different families kuphela. We came from the same ancestors. So this anger and this hatred, you are just feeding into what ZANU-PF wanted to create and what ZANU-PF wants to do. Ungabona usithi uzondomunye ngohlanga, just know that you have fallen to the trap of ZANU-PF. How can we change it? Let's start by loving each other. Let's start by changing your mind. Ngicela wena njengomlaleli namhlanje, go home. Speak to your parents very honestly. Ukhulume labo uze ukuthi imbali yakho ingaphi. Ubabuze ngezithemo lokuthi kanti vele isibongo lasithatha njani. You will find mostly that you are not what you think you are. And believe me, it will change your way of life and how you feel. Lawe Philip kusasa ungabona amasuthu uzababamba labonkomo anti wena labonkomo ngamasuthu uzababamba ukuthi ngabafowenu ngoba sukwazi ukuthi wena ngutawo. You understand? So kule place South Africa kuthiwa nguJimmy Tawo. I think he used to play for Kaizer Chiefs, the right back. So that's your family members. So Lani, go and dig and you find that you are likely not what you think you are. And then I want you to learn something. We were given Zimbabwe by the British, so we are forced to live in it. Can we please live in it like our ancestors used to live in it? Language. We were never like that before. Respect your fellow countrymen. Love, charity begins at home. If you don't love your own brother, how do you expect a foreigner to love you? How do you expect to when we are all Zimbabweans, we are all Africans, we are all the children of Ntu. We share the same identity. We live together with There is no need for hate. The only way we can remove ZANU-PF is when the people unite. Believe you me, when we unite above this stupid tribalism thing, we remove ZANU-PF. We remove it. But right now, we can't. Because when you go to MDC, Mati Coupe, dissident, this one is in Devere, Wamba Guzanu, hey, Wamba Lapa Laguzapu Gato, hey, Asfuni Mashona Lapa, Babula Lobaba, hey, we are all divided. Let us unite as the children of Ntu and Tua, Mansitu Tua and Kulma Tinabatwa. Levonti Tinabato Salitritan and the Biala, Salifun the Simfito Yonke, Salitrina Gushe, Assassin, that is angapamanzi zathi qiqi salitshengisa lathi sizageza njani sizayakha njani izindlu zathi qiqi salifundisa singabobhudi benu thina yithi salifundisa ukuthi kuphilwa njani lina nje manje selihlukumezwe kwabuya abantu abafuna ukusidivide. They've changed the way. Remember Benjamin Burombo, remember Jairus Shiri. Can you please remember Charles Josiah Makamatongo? Can you please remember the men like Joshua Mqabuko Nyongo Wankolo, William so much to benefit. We have everything in Zimbabwe. We could be great as Zimbabweans. What don't we have in Zimbabwe that other countries have? We've got gold, we've got diamonds, we've got the best soil in Africa, we've got all sorts of minerals in our country. Why are we fighting? Let us unite. Let us take our country back. Let us live amongst each other. Just as we used to live before. Ngabone manikalendi kugcwele nje imixture yamanguni labantu eshoneni and ngihambe eMidlands ngabandebele lamashona. We used to live together. Even eBulawayo khona koBulawayo khona phana sigcwele sihlangene siyathathana. Love knows no language. Love knows no face. So please, njengabantwana beZimbabwe, I'm asking you from today on ababheke lolu hlelo, go change your mind. Liberate yourself. so you can liberate your country. You cannot liberate the country if you yourself are not liberated. Go back and study your history and the history of our people and ask yourself, where did we go wrong? I'll give you the answer. It's 1963 and 1980. And the problem was ZANU-PF. Thank you so much.
Comrade Sankara, you plan for another topic next time, my boy. You come to the next topic of we had a fantastic day, my brother. I'm so proud of calling you my young brother. Next time, since I live in Manchester, we can look for a venue. We sit down and do a live broadcast together, my brother. I am so proud of calling you my young brother. Thank you so much for changing. Kuvaku nasi usukela namhlanje munhu wese awona video in. Share this video. Let's start changing our system. Love one another. If you hear that there is a place about, if you're in the UK or Canada or Australia, go and tell your friend. No. Forget about it. Start with your homeboy. Thank you so much, Sankara. I will love you so much. I'm a last words, Mafana. Uvaleli is in last words, Mafana. I love you. What do you want to say?
In closing, Bantana Bagantu Dotwa. Thank you so much, Banabe Zimbabwe, for consistent video viewing. Sorry, we had a consistent viewing of over 30 people. I'm really grateful. Thank you for giving me your ear. One day, our country will be free, but it begins with us. Small things such as loving. What you love your neighbor as you love yourself. Charity begins at home. I just want to close with this. We are all the children of Zimbabwe. We all are. Agula Zimbabwe was the first person there. The first person in Zimbabwe. We are the ones who were there first in Zimbabwe. Lonke la figa, sahlalisana, and we live together, and we build great empires together, and we achieve great things together. Can we continue now to build together what our ancestors? Can we respect those who fought the long war as to what they fought for? Can we do it now? Wherever we go, let it begin like that. Try to have conversations with your elders. Know yourself first, and then you'll be able to explain other things to other people. Nyabonga cool for giving me a chance. Those who would like to catch me by Instagram, it's Cake Sankara. Those who want to catch me on Facebook, just search Cake Sankara Vulga. I'm sure Philip will tag it on there.
Yeah.
And besides all, before I finish, I just want to thank, most importantly, Obabu Tabengwa. I want also to say, rest in peace, Commander-in-Chief. And I want to thank him for everything that he taught me in regards of our politics. I also want to thank Umamango Busu, who nurtured me in politics in Zapu, and the likes of Otula Nunkala. I would also like to thank, most importantly, my comrades in the 8679 that I work with. We accumulate this knowledge together. So ngiyabonga kakhulu ngibonge lo mfowethu Philip Spanda. I know he's been trying to get me on here for a long time. It was just by chance today that he phoned me and we both agreed that we do this. I would have jumped even ngabe bethe siyenza ngo-12 obusuku. I would have done it because I understand the significance of uniting our country. Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Thank you very much, Sankara. I love you so much, Mafana. Ngiyabonga kakhulu now. I'll give you a call later, young man. See, then we need another topic here for future. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was my young brother, Sankara, Comrade Sankara. You can get him on Facebook. Did you enjoy the program? Sankara, Philip, Sankara, Philip, Sankara, Philip, Sankara, Ibe ratio. I want to see those people who enjoyed the program, and I want to see those people who think with the program they benefited from the program. Can I ask you, are you going to change from today? No, I'm not Shona, I'm not Ndebele. I'm a Zimbabwean and I'm proud. Today I learned a lot. I'm the first one to say this. I learned a lot today. Yes, I know there are some people who says, why? But a lot of people benefited from this topic. Thank you very much. My name is the Air Marshal Commander. I love you so much. We meet again on the other programs. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.
saguqa ngamatolo inkosi lophengula yasinyamalala saguqa ngamatolo inkosi lophengula yasinyamalala hayibo kwasengisho yasinyamalala hayibo kwasengisho yasinyamalala uthala wami nje umhlaba uyaphenduka wawubusa umambo lomsilikazi uthala wami nje umhlaba uyaphenduka wawubusa umambo lomsilikazi sawela ushangane saguqa ngamatolo inkosi lophengula yasinyamalala